Hello. Hello. Welcome. Hello. 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 Aha. Hello. Hello. Hello, Angela. Thank you for having a picture. Hello, Carla. Hello. Hi, Montserrat. Okay. Thank you for saying hi. I appreciate that. Weirdly, not only do I appreciate the avatar or picture or whatever, Angela. And not only do I appreciate these things, believe it or not, you're going to find out shortly. If you don't already know, you're going to get points for them. Yes. Okay. I'm assuming you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me, but obviously you can. Okay. So hi, Montserrat. Hi, Carla. Hello, Mira. Also, let me know. Sorry, I'm letting more people in. Also, this is one of many opportunities for you to please correct my pronunciation of your name. You can correct me publicly. You can correct me privately in private chat. Correct me if I use an incorrect pronunciation or an incorrect pronoun or anything like that. Hello. Sorry. So hello, Angela. Hello, Takarab. Hi, Josh. Oh, yes. Hi, Josh. Nice to meet you. Well, nice to meet all of you. But yes, Josh, I know who you are. Okay. Anyway, hello, Jamie. Hello. Sorry. Hello, Alirat. Good afternoon, Madonna. And Madonna, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, you'll let me know. Acknowledgement to you and possibly points to for the fact that you've been waiting in the waiting room for like 4 hours. You're super prompt and I super appreciate it. Noticed. Okay, who else? Oh, and Sadie, hello. Thank you for showing a picture. Good afternoon, okay. And there's more people coming. Thank you. All right, excellent. If you think that I'm going to begin every class by spending this much time saying hello, you are right. Well, it may not take this much time every time, but this is not me taking attendance. This is me saying hello. There is a difference. And I definitely appreciate all the hellos that are coming back. We're going to talk about those hellos momentarily. Again, I appreciate that Sadie and Angela are showing something other than a black box. Nobody will ever be penalized or oh, thank you, Josh. Oh, a real person, in fact, a video. Now we'll get
How are you, Professor? Nice to meet you.
Oh, and a voice. I'm even better now. You just made my day. And Mira's not only showing me, she's actually smiling. Okay, this almost feels human. Thank you, guys. And I'm not even kidding. No, I'm good. Thank you. How are you? Okay. And for everybody, you're going to see we're going to get to know each other today. I know it's a long period and it's physics and all of that, and it's a long time to be on Zoom. Believe me, that is partly why I'm going to put a lot of overly spastic effort into trying to make this as livable and human for all of us as possible. And I'm going to be very excited when anybody else besides me joins in the attempt to make this a human experience, a synchronized experience. So we're going to get to know each other today. Of course, we're going to start talking about the lab that you already did with Professor Moses. We're going to hear about that. We're going to start talking about physics. We're going to deal with the work that you already have in Google Classroom, blah, blah, blah. But before we do any of that, we are going to try to establish like a little bit of a community feel, if I may say. So I'm gonna get to know you guys, and I hope I get to know you very well, honestly. And I hope by the end, I feel like I know you so well that you all not only rock the course, but feel comfortable asking me for recommendations and support for your future ambitions and your future life. And I'm serious about that. Often 102 can be that kind of class, even on Zoom, where we really actually do get to know each other in a hopefully collaborative, exciting but not stressful way. We'll get to all that. So part of what's going to happen today is you're going to get to know me a little bit. One thing you're going to know about me right now is, as you can see, I'm already frothing at the mouth over any attempt that anybody made to elevate this synchronized class into a little bit of something resembling an actual class. I'm overly okay, and Josh just okay. Oh, and there's Carla. Okay, you're gonna see, and I don't mean to single anybody out. I'm gonna tell you right now, if I ever say someone's name or single somebody out, I will only ever do that because I think something positive is happening. honestly. And if it ends up embarrassing or whatever, they'll tell me and then I won't do it again or whatever. But I want to tell you right now, like, I know how awful Zoom can be, especially for 2.5 hours. I also know how stressful science can be in any format. I want to make it clear right now that if I praise Josh or Mira or Carla for showing video, or if I praise Angela or Sadie for showing avatars or whatever you call it, like images rather than black boxes, that is what I'm doing. But that is not the reason I'm doing it, is because it is absolutely not a requirement. Okay, like those of you who right now are not showing video, I'm going to get to know you in 1,000 different ways, I hope. And I am not saying that you have to show video, and I'm not criticizing you. I mean, it may sound like I am, but I want to make it clear right now that there's a lot of things that we can all do in this class that will get rewarded, I believe, rewarded karmically and rewarded academically, point-wise. But there's nothing anybody could do in this class to, but they'll be rewarded because they're all optional. There's a million different optional ways that we can all come together and help each other make this be at least a tolerable experience, if not a successful experience. So I want to start by saying right now, video is not required. It's not. And an avatar is not required. It's not. Like, there's 1,000 reasons I couldn't require that if I tried. And let me go a step further, because there's 1,000 reasons you might not want to show video. I get it. I mean, sometimes I don't want to show video. But let me say, one reason that people don't like showing video, I believe, one reason that people don't like showing video is because they're afraid if they do show video for a little while, then it'll become particularly conspicuous when they turn it off, right? Like, one of the reasons I'm praising Josh and Mira and Carla and Angela now and Sebastian and Roland and Caitlin and Madonna, one of the reasons I'm outwardly praising them right now, and again, it is not to shame anybody else, like honestly, seriously, but one of the reasons I'm outwardly praising these guys for helping to get to know them fast right now is it obviously takes guts for them to do that, because they are possibly thinking now, if they turn it off, it really looks like they've just decided to go walk the dog or, like go do something. Whereas the rest of us are just, protected. Well, so let me say, to get straight to it, I get that, but that's not the way it will be here. You will see when I start showing you the grading system for lecture and recitation, all that, once we get into how the grades work and everything, you will see that anything you ever do that I think is like helpful, if you do it for a minute, if anybody who's showing video right now for a minute, you're going to see or maybe you already realized this if you look through the Google Classroom, there's a portal where anybody who's showing video even right now is going to like just screenshot their video and they're going to submit it to that portal. If you're looking at the Google Classroom or you looked already, you'll notice that the portal is the assignment portal, and we'll walk through this together. If I'm speaking too fast right now for anybody, I understand that too. But just to give you an overview of how I work and how things work here, there are various different portals, all due like December 6th or something like that, all for different ways that people could try to engage or participate in the class. And there's just all the different ways that I have thought of recently. There may be many more ways that if any one of you brings to my attention, I'll make a portal for like immediately. In any of those portals, those game portals under homework 0, points and participation, I think it's called, homework sub-0. Again, I'll walk through it carefully in a minute, but I think you're very smart people. You've already paid your dues in 101. So I think you can follow this probably. All those game portals you see that are all due December, they're all optional. The reason they're due December 6th is that they can be used at any and many times between now and the end of the semester. All of them represent different ways that at any moment, someone could show an engagement or an investment or a contribution to the class. So at any moment, so for example, like right now, all these people that are showing video, right? They could screenshot it right now. They could just submit, and I'll show you how to do it, but they could submit a screenshot, like with one word, like I showed video today or whatever, and maybe the date, and submit it to that portal that says video. I think it's called video. And I'll see it, and it'll take them 2 seconds to do that. And it'll take me 2 seconds to see it and just put a red check on it or whatever. And then they'll get points, which count in the grade, for having done that. If any of these people that's showing video right now, like does that and submits for the points, they can turn off their video now. And no, it's not worse than It's just a net gain for the amount of time that they did show video. I'm not tracking when and who turns video off. I'm just excited when people turn it on. And that is an example of anything else that could go on. Again, like Sadie and someone else a minute ago, like Sadie is at least breaking up the monotony of my life, breaking up the black box monotony of my life. She's at least giving me some, and it doesn't have to be a picture. Even if Sadie or let's say Michael, like if someone just like had a picture of a Pokemon or something that, you know, just that I could remember, like, oh, I think of Pokemon when I think of that person, that's fine. But just as a way of starting off the class by saying there's many, many ways where you can do things to help us all be a group and also to stop me from talking a mile a minute, which I will otherwise do for 2.5 hours if people don't get involved. There's all these different optional ways that people can show engagement or participation. And anytime you do one of those things, any of those things, you can submit for points. And then the next day you do it, the next week that you do it again, you could submit again to the same portal for points. And anytime you don't do them or you don't submit for points, you're not getting zeros, you're not getting like anything. It's just you can accumulate karma and presence and recognition and points on your grade by various things. Last thing on that, we'll talk about in detail, but I'm just excited. Oh, well, even saying hello at the beginning of the class counts as one of those things, or even writing hello in the chat. It just helps us all actually be a class. It's really hard to sit here for 2.5 hours. It's easier for me than for the rest of you, for the simple reason that I'm just talking. It's keeping my blood flowing. It's keeping me awake. It's keeping me accountable. But if I were just sitting here listening, I would want to die. So the more we can turn it over to you guys, which we're going to do, like the more better it will be for everybody. Okay. Okay. So I'm obviously going to back up and slow down and give you the nuts and bolts that you need and explain how the grading system works. And we'll talk about physics. But I just right away, I just want to all of you who are showing video, it's totally noticed. It's totally appreciated. You're going to get points for that. And don't feel like you can't turn it off at some point. It's still better that you did it for a few minutes than not. Now I know what you look like. I mean, now if I see you in the halls, I can say hello type of thing. Okay. So awesome. Okay, wait. And one of the reasons I do physics, one of the reasons I love physics is it forces my brain to sort of stay on a path. Like once we get into the physics, believe me, I'll be a little bit more linear than I'm being right now. It will be organized. There is a curriculum, believe it or not. There is a lesson plan for today, believe it or not. We do have things we need to get to, and we will get to them. But if not careful, if I'm not talking straight up about physics, I tend to go all around the place. So you are welcome. I'm telling you right now, you can stop me at any time with your voice, which is another thing, by the way. I think it was Josh and a couple other people used their voice. That's another portal. Just using your voice, even once. There's a portal for that. If you used your voice while you were on the video, you just submit the same thing into 2 different portals. You can double dip. You should double dip, triple dip. So you can stop me at any time with your voice. You could stop me in chat. I really do follow the chat. I take the chat very seriously, really. You could stop me in direct chat. I take the direct chat very seriously. I'll explain that in more detail too. But please, for example, if someone put in the direct chat right now, they put, this is all great. Thank you. Thanks for your enthusiasm. But like, actually, I don't understand the homework at all. Can we start talking about that? I would take it seriously. I mean, even if I had to say, okay, yeah, give me 2 more minutes and then I'll do, you can do that. And there's a portal for that, by the way, called Please Go Forward. If you want to politely, respectfully tell me in the private chat, like, you need to move on, professor, you're like going down a rabbit hole, you can and should do that, and you get points for it. If you want me to tell me to go back, there's a portal for that. So let me, but I will tell so please, at any time, if there's just things you already don't understand, like where we went to the wrong place for lab, where are we supposed to go to lab? Or like, are we meeting here every week? Or you can ask me. And by the way, the answer is yes, here every week. I'll get to that. All right, so let me just, let's see. Okay, so that's my board. I'm assuming you can see my board. This whiteboard that we'll use at all times is where we'll actually go over all the problems and start doing the physics. You know, this is my whiteboard for doing the physics. I will tend usually on the front page of it to give you a couple of equations. Usually one equation is like what we were in the middle of going over or discovering last week, or maybe I feel like we're wrapping up from last week. And then there'll be another equation usually, which is like where we're heading this week. So it's sort of like the agenda. So there'll usually be an equation or two just to set context on the first page. Of course, once we get going, the whiteboard will start looking increasingly mathematical and increasingly organized and increasingly substantive. Everything I do, just so I do encourage you to take notes. There's also a portal for that. There's a portal for if you just take note, I encourage you to take notes. I particularly encourage you to write down certain things that I make a big deal of, but I didn't write down. Those of you who don't like talking very much, even in a regular class, for 1,000 legitimate reasons, or you don't want to be showing video for 1,000 legitimate reasons, one way you can get points for participation and show engagement is you can take good notes and screenshot a bit of your notes and upload that to the portal. I think it's called Notes, or it might be called, it's either called Notes or it's called something like that. And you can upload that as a way of saying, look, I may not be a blabbermouth like you, Yaverbaum, but like I really am here and I'm paying attention, and here you go. And you'll get points for that. Despite the fact that I would encourage you to take notes once we're really going, whatever you see on this whiteboard, at the end of the class, every class, all the pages of this whiteboard, which, I'll be writing it in real time, it'll all be uploaded as a PDF right at the end of every single class and into Google Classroom. So you'll have all of these notes for me, which again is why I do encourage you to take notes anyway, but you might want to focus on things that like I don't write down. Okay, again, stop me anytime because I'm just going to babble here unless you do. People are still showing video. That's awesome. Oh, and hello. And hello, Yichan. I didn't say hello. And hello, Nathan. I don't think I said hello. And Amelie. And again, please correct my pronunciations. You can correct me publicly or privately. I mean, my name is Yaverbaum, for heaven's sakes. You know how many possible mispronunciations of that there are? And if you're trying to say it right, it sort of rhymes with cadaver town, sort of, not really, but it's Yaverbaum. It's an unusual name to this moment in time, or certainly before Google. In my life, until there was Google and everything, anybody I ever met or heard of named Yaverbaum was related to me in some way that I knew. Okay, which does mean I have great grandparents who were cousins and married each other, which explains a lot about my personality, whatever. But that's who I am. I'm Yaverbaum. I want to get to know you better. I want to pronounce your names correctly. I want you to correct me when I don't. If I didn't say hello to you yet, let me know. I don't think I said hello to, to Layatule. No, I'm not. Sorry. You know, the only thing worse than mispronouncing someone's name is just visibly stumbling over it and making a big awkward deal.
That's correct, Professor. It's Layatulai.
Oh, Layatulai.
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, thank you. All right. Thank you for correcting me. Thank you for helping me. Okay. And thank you for speaking up. And again, he can submit that now to the portal called Voice, or I think it's called Speak Softly or Forever Hold Your Chat or something like that. You have to some of the titles of the portals are dumb and silly. You have to read the instructions to know what they mean sometimes, but there's definitely a portal where he can now get points just for the mere fact that he threw his voice into the mix, because it helps. Okay. What I don't have yet is a portal for actually correcting me when I make mistakes, but I should have that. And I will, if you remind me, I will make a portal for that. Also, I feel like if I've met you before, any of you, I know I've emailed with some of you about this class, but forgive me in advance, if I've met you before, in Physics 101, or if this is your second time taking the class or something, privately let me know, because I'm getting old and I don't think I have, but it is possible that I have. Okay, it sounds like no, but okay. But it's nice to meet you all. Oh, and Roland, I just want to make clear too, what notice he has, and I am not trying to call anybody out. I'm just trying to get to know you here. So again, if I call it hello. All right, so that's video, but he can double dip now. He has shown video. He's showing video right now, right? But he also, that thing that he's showing, the blue square with the white R, which I know is a default setting somewhere, that counts as an avatar. Just so you know, your avatar doesn't have to be some freaking work of Picasso, or it doesn't have to be anime. The fact is, it's not a black box. So it helps. It helps us all. Okay, so he can double dip today and get points for both of those things. And every day you do it, you can get points. Where do all these points go? Of course, I have to explain. But believe me, they don't go into a sinkhole. They do go into your grade. Okay, and someone's in the chat. Yay, I'm so excited. Someone's in the chat. Let's see. That's what I thought. Okay. Hold on a second. Oh, wait, someone's here. Pardon me for a second. I'm just responding to a direct chat. I'll explain direct chat. How I do this in a second. Hold on. Oh, great question from Caitlin. And let me say again right now, especially today, it really is about us establishing an environment of academic trust and safety and excitement. Like I know some of these words are cliches at this point, but I really am serious that today is about us laying out like the space for us to work in for the rest of the semester. So I want to say right now, I'm going to answer. I love Caitlin's question. No, I get it, and I love the fact that she went public. There's also other questions happening in the direct chat. So I'm going to explain that too. But I love Caitlin's questions in the public chat. I'm totally going to address them. I want to say before I do that, if we got today, if we got to the end of the period and I didn't get to anything that I was like literally planning to say, or at least I didn't get to it in order or something like that, but it ended up for 2.5 hours. We had a bunch of legitimate, real questions from all of you about, as long as they were like legitimate questions, and I just ended up doing Q&A for 2.5 hours. I would consider that extremely well spent time. The more this whole situation is driven by you rather than me, the better. Now, of course, there's things we have to get done, but we will get them done. I know that. And we'll get them done. And sometimes we'll get them done in an order that ends up being determined more by you than by me. And that is fine, because I know where we have to get to, and I'll redirect us and blah, 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 blah. But the more that the ship can be steered by you guys, and I know everybody says that, but it's true. The better. Let me finish that sentence. The more it can be steered by you guys, the better. And even though hearing about a grading system is like kind of never interesting, and we're going to talk about the grading system today, because partly why I talk about the grading system on the first day is meant to demonstrate to you truly what the tone of the class is meant to be and how you should try to invest in the class. And the grading system is designed to encourage what I just said. So I guess what I'm trying to say right now is, anybody who's asking a question in the chat, I want all of you, I don't want any of you to view that as someone getting me off the topic. I always seem like I'm getting off the topic. Whatever's in the chat is the topic. Anybody who's asking, unless someone like is just being a jerk, and I'll deal with that if that's okay. But anybody who's asking concerns that they have or things they want to know, that is the topic, and that's what I want to address. So therefore, and it'll, that just means we might go in a different order from what I was intending. That's all. So Caitlin's question: how many points can we accumulate per class, participation points? So the simple answer to that, in a way, it's kind of, it sounds like an obnoxious answer, but in a way, the answer is there's no limit. It's infinity. That's not strictly true, because I only have so many portals open right now, but in theory, but there's no limit that I would impose. And if in one class, there's literally no limit, because you'll see as we talk about this more, there's certain things you could do in a class, such as you could volunteer an answer to a hard physics question. If you volunteer an answer to a question, like volunteer it in chat or volunteer with your voice or whatever, if you volunteer an answer that is actually an answer, like that's where you're risking me saying afterwards either that was right or that was wrong, if you know what I mean. If you volunteer an answer that is subject to being publicly recognized as correct or incorrect, that's gutsy, and it's really helpful, and it's harder for a lot of people than it sounds. So there's a portal for that called for right or for wrong. For any time you volunteer an answer, it doesn't matter whether it's right or wrong, you can screenshot it and put it in that portal that says for right or for wrong. And if you do it more than one time, you can submit it more than one time. So, and we'll talk about the details of that instead. So there really is no limit. There really is no limit. Where do all the points go, and what do they end up meaning in the end? That's what I have to explain in more detail in a second. But there's no, but even literally, it's to the point where if right now someone in the chat said to me, could we open up a portal for people that correct you when you make a mistake, Yaverbaum, which is something I keep thinking of, but I never remember to make a portal. Like I would say yes, and then I would open a portal for that. So in other words, even more portals could even be opened in the middle of a class. So there really is no limit, is what I'm saying. Now that doesn't mean that, I mean, of course, the highest grade that anybody can get at the end of a semester is 100. And you might have noticed that John Jay, for whatever reason, nobody gets A pluses. I've never really understood that. I don't know why that is, but so the highest grade you could get is an A. So in that sense, there's like at a certain point, if you know you have an A, I mean, maybe, you might like slow down a bit, but if what we're really asking, so I'm going to take Caitlin's question a step further. If Caitlin's really asked, so hopefully I answered her question. And I'm going to go a step further with it, but I'm also going to say now, let's say Caitlin thinks I kind of answered her question or basically addressed what it was she was trying to get at, because I'm not sure if I did. If she wrote now in the chat, yeah, thanks, that answers it, or thanks, you can move on now, or whatever, like thanks, that's clear, or something. If she wrote that in the chat, that counts as closing a conversational path. That is a portal also. Now I'm not, and so she could submit that for points because that's a good thing that helps us all. Otherwise, I'll just keep babbling and babbling and babbling. Like, right? If I don't know if I answer the question or not. Now, I'm not asking you to memorize all these portals. I'm not asking you to take all this information that I'm like throwing at you. I'm not asking you to like write it all down right now, or like, what I'm saying is when we start looking through the Google Classroom, or if you already have, when you see all of those portals that all look like they're all due December 6th or something, and they all look weird and they all like have weird titles and it's not at all clear how they have to do with physics, I'm explaining right now that all of those are different optional ways that you can submit for points at any time, at every time. And the more and what your job is in those portals is to remind me of a way or ways in which you participated. Like the onus is on you to take a moment at some point and put in a little sentence or a screenshot or a little one sentence document or whatever into those portals and remind me that you did participate in such and such a way, and be specific. Like, don't say I asked a question today. Say I'm the one that asked, what does F equals negative KX mean in English or something, right? But you put in that reminder. And once you remind me, I'll remember. I'll be like, oh, yeah, that person did. That was really cool that person did that. And then you'll get the point. It's not about proving. It's just about reminding and self-reflecting. So even if Caitlin, this is a big hint here. This is a big hint. So Caitlin, she did it. I'm sorry. I'm such a loser. Okay. Yeah. So what Caitlin thank you, Caitlin. So what she just did, that makes sense. Thank you for answering my question. So now she could submit the question anywhere, and she could submit that for closing a conversational path. Just so, here we go. Another question. Great. Is there a space? Okay, great question. And I think I may be pronouncing your name wrong. Sorry, Yichan. Or tell me if I'm, wait. Oh, is it Yichan? Is that okay? No.
Yeah, that's all right.
Okay. Do you just want to say it once just so I can try even better? Do you want to?
Oh, Yichan?
Okay, Yichan. Okay. All right. So great question about the textbook. Great, very fair question. So the honest answer at this point, the most honest answer for good or for bad for all y'all is there's no textbook. Don't bother. I mean, I'm a little bit embarrassed about that. We used to have a textbook listed forever in the syllabus so that we had a textbook, but it was optional, but it was just there so that we could have one. But it was terrible, and we were just wasting people's money. I don't want to leave you at bay. I'm not saying that the only way to learn this material is just to listen to me. I will tell you about a lot of resources that we have and that we'll make available, or that you're allowed to use. You're allowed to use tons of resources. But for good or for bad, we don't want you to spend money on any mandatory resource. I will explain that more. So the answer is no, there's no textbook. Again, for some of you, that's probably good news. Maybe for some of you, that's bad news. If you want a textbook on the side that I would recommend for your future life, or that, or where I'm getting a lot of my information from, I can do that on the side, but or I can even put it in the chat, but the thing is, I don't want you guys spending, but their physics textbooks are really expensive. We don't use them enough to justify your expenditure. And it's not really appropriate for me to like recommend free you know, what do you call it? Like PDF, like I can't as a professor, like literally tell you to go get, like black market resources. So, so the simple, wait, okay. Okay, I'll talk about, now I'm getting questions about exams. That's very also fair. So let me just quickly say, so there's no textbook. Okay, one thing I'm going to tell you, and I'll get to the exams question now, and obviously all of this will be made clear, but these are good questions. Wait. Oh, okay, thank you. So he just got, great. So Ye-chan just got like a bunch of points. That's awesome. Let me also say, since someone's already asking about exams, and since you of course will have homework, and you do have homework, and we're going to talk about all that, when it's time to do homework, you are allowed and encouraged to use any resource you ever find or want to find on the web. Like part of the reason we don't deal with textbooks as much anymore is because the whole world is at your fingertips anyway, and it's stupid for us not to acknowledge that or like encourage that. So at when it comes time to do homework, you're certainly allowed to check out Khan Academy if it makes out the topic more clear to you, to check out 3 brown 1 blue, which I don't know, I always say it wrong. I think the website's called 3 brown 1 blue. It might be called 3 blue 1 brown. Correct me if anybody knows what I'm talking about. Correct me in the chat, please. But there's a website called the 3 brown 1 blue, which is like a more advanced, more sophisticated like version of Khan Academy. And Khan Academy is great. I'm all for Khan Academy. I think it's amazing. But if you're ever looking for something even like a more like sophisticated, like more advanced kind of thing with incredible graphics and a different way of looking at it, there's one called 3 brown 1 blue. You're allowed to use any of these resources you want when it's time to do homework. You are allowed to help one another when it's time to do homework. You're encouraged to help one another. Plus, wait, okay, I'm going to get to the exams. These are great questions about the exams. I'm totally going to get to them in 1 second. And I'm going to get to how all this relates to the exams. Also, you're going to find in a minute, I'm going to tell you that, or I think you already know from the Google Classroom, every lecture that I'm giving you right now, or everything that we discuss right here, has been done in the past by me and all recorded and uploaded to YouTube. So you're also at any time always allowed to look at any of my past lectures or discussions on all this stuff if you want to get ahead, or if something wasn't clear today, or you feel like you're falling behind or you missed something or blah. You can use any resource that works for you, including your friends, to do any homework you want, and it's not considered cheating. Now, it turns out, just to cut to the chase, it also turns out that you can do that on exams. So the good and the bad is, and I'm going to explain that right now, just because people are asking. There's no required or recommended one source for this class. It is true that the best way to get the material from this class is to pay attention in class and be part of the discussions and take notes and pay attention in labs. And the material and all the homeworks and all the exam material comes directly from what we do in class. That's the best way to get it. The second best way is to watch any YouTube recordings of the class, including this semester's. But then past that, you can look at anything else on the web that you ever find, including during exams. So let me address exams right now. And I still have to address grade, and stop me if any of my answers are not making sense. Some of them are surprising answers. I know that. Hold on. Okay, since there's all these questions about exams. So thank you, Ye-chan, for your question. And thank you, Michael and Alexander. You tell me if I think it's Alexander, but tell me.
It's Alexander, but you can call me Olex.
Oh, okay, Olex. Okay, Alexander, Olex. Okay, great. Nice to meet you, and thank you for using your voice. That's awesome. So Alexander's question and Michael's question, and Carla's question. Okay, let me try to address these now. Now, technically, everything I'm about to say is like technically somewhere in the syllabus, but hopefully this makes it clearer. And I would suggest writing it down. If I start writing it down, I'm gonna get myself into a rabbit hole. So tell me if I go too fast or whatever. But of course, this is important. I'm gonna tell you. Okay, so there's one midterm exam. There's one midterm exam in lecture portion of this class, and there's one final exam. Okay, so there's 2 exams. Neither one of them gets dropped because there's only 2 of them. I'm going to explain in more detail in a minute, but I'm going to explain a lot actually. But just to answer your, so neither one of them is droppable. They both count. I'll talk about that. There's 2 of them. I'm just looking at the questions. A midterm and a final. You'll know when the midterm's coming. We'll prepare for the midterm. You'll have a practice exam that doesn't count for the midterm. So there won't be any surprises on the midterm. We'll address all of that. But wait, oh, and are the exams online? The exams are not online. The exams are take home. You have a few days to do them, but both of them, each of them, you'll have a few days to do. They are not under test conditions. And bear with me, because what I'm saying now is slightly surprising. I mean, I know it's slightly surprising. You might even think that you're not hearing me correctly. I will tell you that one of the reasons we're going to start taking homework so seriously and talking about how to do the homework and what I'm looking for in the homework and how to submit the homework through Google Classroom and all of that. Like, one of the goals we have to get to today is a discussion of what I'm looking for in how you submit homework to me in Google Classroom. One of the reasons for that discussion is you're going to find that homework is basically practice. I mean, it counts, but it's practice for the two exams. The exams are actually just like big homework assignments in effect. They're like exams. Each exam is like a bunch of big multi-part problems put together that you take, that will get posted on Google Classroom with warning and everything like that, and with background materials, like review practice materials. When it comes time for a midterm, it will be posted on Google Classroom at a certain time of night. You'll download it. You'll go off into your private Idahos. You'll have like 3 days or something like that, like 3 nights to work on it. It'll be due basically at the beginning of a class period, like at the beginning of some Thursday, like 3 days later. When you're done working on it, you'll submit the exam through Google Classroom as though it were just one huge assignment that counted a lot more than the other assignments. I mean, they do count. They're not a joke. They do count for your grade. We'll talk about all of that. But the fact is that the exams you do at home in your own way, in your own time, like not under time conditions, not with a webcam or anything like that. You can walk back and forth from it. You're ideally expected to maybe do a draft, to work things out and then make a final copy and submit a really good final copy. In that sense, they're almost more like an essay or a research paper, like as if for like a humanities class or something. And get this, as long as we're talking about it, with both of those exams, the midterm exam and the final exam, not only are they not under test conditions, not only can you walk back and forth from your exam paper, and turn on your computer and turn off and stuff, but they're open universe exams. You can use the web when you're doing your exams. You can talk to one another, and you should. When you're doing your exams, you can look at my videos or old class videos or whatever. When you're doing the exams, you can look at Khan Academy if you want while you're doing the exams. This may be a surprise to some of you. It is a little unusual. I'm going to talk about it more when we get there, but I'm just laying it out now as long as people are asking. Wait, so far, let me just stop for a second. Raise your hand if you're hearing me talk right now, like if you're catching what I'm saying so far. Okay, cool. Like you're with me. Okay. So what I'm saying so far is, and I haven't told you how the grades work yet, but I am partly just to address your questions, and we would have talked about this today anyway, but partly also to hopefully put some of you at ease. I am telling you directly that yes, your exams count, and no, we can't drop one. And sorry, Michael, is that a hand, like a question, or are you just raising because I just asked you to? Or if you
No, I was just raising it because you.
Okay, thank you. All right, I appreciate it. Thank you, and thank you for using your voice. Okay, so you can put it down. Okay, so yeah, I mean, this is like a surprising thing. I know this is unusual. I mean, it's not unusual in physics these days when we do it in all our physics classes, actually. And we were doing this a little bit even before COVID, but we certainly have been doing it ever since COVID. I am telling you that your exams are fully open, everything, and like literally, you can talk to one another while you're taking them. Now, does that? So that's part of why. That's like the plus side of the fact that you don't have a textbook that you can like consult beforehand, because you can consult anything you want during. Does that mean that there's a chance? Does that mean that we're setting up a system here? Is that one of many reasons to believe that maybe we're trying to set up a system here where we're optimizing the chances for as many people to do legitimately as well as possible? Yes. Like, for example, if you're thinking to yourself, do a lot of people get A's on these exams then? Well, I'll tell you this, a lot of people get A's in the class, and that's what I want. A lot of people, a lot of you, hopefully will end up, hopefully a lot of you sitting here listening to me right now, especially if you're still listening to me after an hour already, if you stay with me and you do what's asked in the class and you stay engaged in the class and participate and like actually kind of like relax and enjoy the class, maybe even, a lot of you will get A's, A minuses, or B pluses, but a lot of you will get A's and A minuses. I'm telling you right now, we want that. Let me put it more bluntly. Do I have a limit on how many A's or A minuses can end up going to CUNY first at the end of the semester? No, I don't. Like, am I going to lose tenure if there's too many A's? No, I'm not. Am I going to, if every single person in the class got an A at the end of the semester, what would happen? Well, I might make things slightly harder next semester for the next group. Oh, well, because I would think, okay, maybe I made things a little too, or maybe if every single person got an A. But here's the thing, that doesn't ever happen. A lot of you will get A's and A minuses, and that's what I want. The first thing I want you to know before we go any further, as long as we're talking about exams and we're talking about grades and we're talking about participation, all this, before we even get into physics, the first thing I want you to know is that A's are not a limited commodity here. They're not a commodity that you need to compete for. They are a commodity that I want you to collaborate for. I've been in too many situations as a physics student. And, I've been to school many, many times, right? And I've been in too many situations as a teacher or a professor where the whole thing was designed so that one person's chance of getting an A was increased if they lowered the other person's chance of getting an A. I'm not into that. And I'm definitely not into it these days with like all of us being like overly depressed and challenged by life and COVID and everything. So the first thing you need to know is you are not competing with me or with any numerical limit I have, or with each other to get A's. If Josh helps Mira try to get an A, that's going to, I'm just using examples, that's going to increase Josh's chance of getting an A in this class, not decrease it, like literally. Example of that is that there's a portal in the, and I will get to the grading system again, but and there's an example of that called multiplayer co-op. One of the portals is called multiplayer co-op. If at any moment today, one of you like tries to answer the question of another, or just like acknowledges, like if someone puts something in the chat that acknowledges that someone else put something in the chat and like they're feeding off it, especially if they use the name and especially if it's respectful, like that's called multiplayer co-op. And both of those people, if there was any kind of like dialogue between two of you in the chat or in voice, both of you can screenshot that and put it into multiplayer co-op to, again, as a confirmation that the more we can, I want as many A's as possible, legitimate A's. I don't want gift A's. I want as many as possible. Part of the reason for the exams being the way they are is that. Now, let me say the flip side right now before I still tell you the grading system, but yeah, there's 2 exams. They do count heavily in your average. You can't drop either one of them, but they're both open universe. Are they jokes? Am I a total pushover? Am I an idiot? Like, am I basically saying you can all cheat and I'm just going to turn a blind eye to it? No. What I'm saying is this. I'm saying a couple of things. Number one, I'm saying I think cheating is bad. I have a problem with cheating. And every semester we have a problem with some people who cheat in some classes, and it becomes a very big issue and we all get involved and it's like becomes ugly. I'm not a fan of cheating for 1,000 reasons. I'm not a fan of cheating. But what I think cheating is first and foremost is when one student decides to take a liberty or an advantage that is not available to the other students simply because the other students are trying to do the right thing. Like when one student decides that all the people with integrity won't open, like if you have a closed book exam, in other words, right? If you have a closed book exam, what's cheating is when somebody assumes that most people will keep their book closed because they were told to. So then one person opens his or her book knowing that now they've got access to information that all of the respectful or humble or obedient, ethical people aren't doing, right? So when one person cuts a corner and thereby gives him or her or themselves an advantage just because they're willing to be a jerk and they're going to assume that everybody else isn't going to be a jerk, oh, that is cheating. Like that's cheating on every level. So part of my point with the exams, especially because now we're living in this world of online courses and stuff, is my first point is Everything is available to everybody, so none of you can just grab an unfair advantage over anybody else. And in fact, everything is available to everybody, so that in fact, you guys could feel encouraged to actually help one another, which I hope and believe you would do if you knew that it's not a sum zero game. If you know that both of you can get an A, why wouldn't you help both of you get an A, right? So part of the whole purpose of the fully open universe exam is that it's not that it's allowing cheating. To me, what it does is actually reduce the I think you understand what I'm saying. But the other thing that I want to make clear right away before I go back, the other thing is that the exams are not jokes. We're going to talk about them when we get there. They're not gifts. They surprisingly, every semester in all of my classes with the exams that I just described, surprisingly, I end up maybe I don't know if it's a surprise. Because of the way they're graded, because remember, when I'm grading them, I know that you had access to everything. Like, I know that. So of course, they're scrutinized in a certain kind of a way. And what we're looking for in the exams is not just correct answers, because you already have the correct answers anyway. We're looking for you to show that you understand why the answers are the answers. So the exams are meant to be demonstrations on your part of actual understanding. So that's actually tricky for some people. So it does turn out every semester that, in fact, the average on the first exam does turn out to be something like a 71 or something like that, even with this whole system. And it does turn out that the grades do range across the board on the first exam, and not everybody gets an A on the first exam or the second. And the only reason I'm telling you that is not to scare anybody. My larger point today is the opposite of scaring anybody. But I want to tell you all right now, as long as we're talking about exams, that no matter what I do or have done in this course, and I do love this course, I'm particularly fond of this course, and I'm usually particularly somehow the people that decide to take this course are usually a special group of people, because it's like weird that you would like, you have to be in a certain weird track of science even to be either required to take this or want to take this, and you have to have gotten through 101. So it's usually a fairly special group of people that even just end up here. And it's usually a bunch of people that have paid some serious dues in 101. I know that. This is meant in part to be the reward for 101. And I love it, and we'll all hopefully love it once we get rolling. I will tell you right now that every semester, a few people don't make it to the end for whatever reason. They don't do what's asked, or they can't, or there's family problems at home, or there's disease, or got something, right? Every semester, there are some people that don't do the work and then don't pass the class. So what we end up having every semester, we don't usually have a ton of C's or anything like that. We don't. We usually have like a lot of like A's and A minuses and B pluses. And then we have like a smattering of like D's or F's. And we all know at John Jay too, like a D can be weirder than an F, and we can talk about that too. But like that's what ends up happening, is that some people get D's or F's and have to repeat the course or something. And then a lot of people get A's or A minuses. I want to tell you right now, and partly because the exams actually do force you actually have to understand what's going on here, and you have to do what's asked. Why I'm telling you all that is that I hope you do get an A or an A minus, and I'm here to help you get an A or an A minus. I'm not here to block you. And that's not always true in all classes, but I also want you to know in advance that even with all of these systems that I'm saying, and even though I'm saying like the test is open universe and all of that, and that's all true, at the end of the day, at the end of the semester, when quark willing, electron willing, universe willing, you do get an A, I also want you to remember what I'm saying right now, which is it wasn't a joke and it wasn't a gift, and you did earn it. And the evidence for that is that some people didn't and won't have. And it's the same thing, the same philosophy, all of you that are in some kind of science major, and that's why you're here, all of you that are in tox or molecular biology, and we'll find out, I want to get to know, or those of you who are e-permit students, you're all in some kind of science major. You all know that you've made major sacrifices already in your life, even to get here. You've already paid some serious dues, even to be in this class. I know that, like certainly in your high school career, you did. Second of all, here you are either at John Jay or at a neighboring institution where you are giving up weekend after weekend being some kind of science major, while a bunch of your contemporaries in other majors at this college are like living to like are not, right? You know that. Some of you may have already had breakdowns. Most people do at some point or another in a science major. Some of you may have asked yourself already, is this really worth it, or do I really belong? Let me tell you, you probably do belong if you're still here now. And if you ever ask yourself, do I really belong in this major? That's very clear evidence that you do belong, because almost anybody that belongs in this major has a crisis at some point and asks themselves that. One of the reasons these majors are worth it, I know I sound like I'm totally off the topic now, but I'll bring it back. One of the reasons it's worth sticking with this major, whatever major you're in, and I'll find out, but like mobile, talks, they're all hard. One of the reasons it's worth sticking with the major is that at the end of the day, the rest of the world does still know that you did something really, really real. The people that you're going to apply for jobs, the people that you're going to apply for graduate school, whatever it is, internships, etc., and I hope to help you with that if we get to that point, they know on the other side that you did something so real here at being like volunteering for a science major. They know it so well that even if you have some bad grades along the way, they know that a bad grade in here and there in a science major is far more real and legitimate than a bunch of perfect grades in a different kind of major. And the reason, and therefore you will, even in this crazy world, you will be rewarded for your efforts, I believe, usually, mostly, because everybody knows about the talks major and the CMB major and the forensic science major and the pharmacology major at other colleges, which often send students to this class, etc. What everybody in the real world knows about those majors, the reason the real world thinks those majors are legitimate is because everybody in not the real world, this is all real, but the post world, the reason that everybody actually is impressed by anybody who can get through these majors is because they know statistically that not everyone who starts finishes. The mere fact that some people don't finish means that anybody who does finish did something. And that's the same thing with this class. It's kind of binary. I'm telling you right now, you're probably not worrying or shouldn't be worrying about like, am I going to get a C or not? If you're staying with us and you stay with us and you're here every day and you do what's expected of you, you're probably gunning for an A. So you know, and that's the goal. But when you get an A, I hope you will find that you really learned something exciting, which I will get to eventually, I promise. But also, I don't want you to then turn around and insult yourself or the class and say, well, I mean, obviously I got an A. I mean, really, I mean, the tests were online or, were open book, blah, blah. No. Just remember, just like your major, not everybody, every time everybody starts, some people don't finish. So if you finish, you've accomplished something. Okay, now I know I've gone way off I will be more detailed about all the stuff, but that's my message is we're going to hope if you stay here every week and you participate and engage and you just do what I'm asking of you, you will hopefully be able to relax somewhat compared to some of the other science courses. Hopefully this will be enjoyable and relaxing, and hopefully the material will be exciting. I mean, I think people tend to say that it is. But it means we all have to trust each other, that we're trying to help each other actually. Because why? By the way, why am I saying all this? Like, what's my motive? Well, I've been doing this for over 30 years. I've been teaching physics. I've been thinking about teaching physics for longer than some of you have been thinking about anything. I don't mean that arrogantly, but I kind of do. Like, I've been doing this for 30 years, and I still love teaching physics. The reason I do it is because I love it. I have a big enough ego and a big enough investment that I want people to love. I want you to love physics. My biggest goal here is I want you to feel comfortable with it enough to be excited by it, and I want you to be excited enough by it to be comfortable with it. If you keep doing all the science grind and killing yourself, eventually we run the risk of killing the science spirit that brought you to a science major in the first place. So part of this class in particular, Physics 102, is meant to be a little bit of a science spirit elevator or healer, if that makes any sense. And that's why we do things the way we do here. Okay, I'm going to go back to chat. Sorry, I'm totally off but is it clear so far what I'm saying? I'll go back to the topic, but are we sort of clear? Can I just get any effort? Sort of. Okay.
Yes, it's very clear.
Oh, thank you, Madonna. All right, awesome. That was voice. Okay, great. I'm going to go back to the chat. And there is, again, as you know, there's a whole curriculum. There's stuff. I won't just be babbling like this all the time, but I just want to. All right. Okay, we'll go back to the chat. We'd like to submit. Oh, that's interesting. A question in the chat. Now, this is a direct chat. So, I mean, a direct question. So, I also want to. So let me, before I read this, let me tell you about direct chat. I love direct chat. If you think about it, it's the one thing that it's actually one of the weird benefits of Zoom that you can't have in a regular class. And of course, I prefer regular classes, but I mean, can you imagine calling a professor over in the middle of a regular class, calling the professor over and then whispering in the professor's ear, like you might whisper inaudibly and no one might hear what you, but everybody's going to see you whispering, right? Like you can't so I love direct chat. How I handle it is, if you put something in the direct chat, I will never say your name out loud. Like I will respect your privacy. But if it's a question that I think is super legitimate if it's private question, if it's really about your private life or your private situation, I'll just respond in direct chat and then that's it. But if it's if I think it's for the benefit of the whole class, I may well read the question out loud or paraphrase the question. I just won't ever say your name. Okay. So there is a question in the direct chat about submitting for corrections after the exams. Very fair question. Generally, we don't do that. We don't generally do that after exams. Sometimes what will happen after the exam, I mean, we definitely don't do it after the final. There's no time. After the midterm, we don't generally do a test correction thing. I mean, occasionally we do, but we usually are already running out of time at that point. But if the grades are bad enough on the midterm, sometimes they are, what we often will do is immediately do some kind of extra credit opportunity for everybody. I might just say, okay, everybody right now do this question and it'll add points to your midterm score. We sometimes do things like that. Also, I still haven't explained the grading system, but sometimes if I think a class is invested in doing the right thing and working with me and I'm working with them, sometimes if the midterm scores are somehow scary to everybody, sometimes what I will do is sort of go is say, okay, when it comes to the final exam, once you do your final exam, I can't drop either exam and we don't have time to correct one, but I will sometimes say, for each one of you, whichever exam you did better on, I will weight more in your average. Sometimes I do that. If I am going to do it, I'll tell you, it won't be a secret. And if I ever do anything I ever suddenly do that's not strictly in the syllabus, I would only do to make your grades better. I would never do it to make them worse, honestly. Wait, okay. I'm looking at okay. So hopefully so we don't usually do test corrections because there just usually really isn't time. But we certainly go over them and stuff like that. Now I will, with homeworks, absolutely you can do corrections. I'm going to get to that in a minute. I know I'm all over the place. With homeworks, especially the first homework, I will tell you right now, once I explain how this works, you're going to be allowed to, you're going to submit the first homework when you do, and you'll get whatever score you get. But if you don't get a perfect score on the first homework, you are absolutely encouraged and allowed to revise and resubmit and re-upload as many times as you need until you get a perfect score. And we do go over the homeworks in class. We're going to talk about all that. We usually assign the homework first, then we start talking about it in class. But even if it was due before class, and then I start talking about it, if I'm helping you straighten it out, and you're now realizing, oh my God, I got it all wrong, or blah, 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 especially on the first homework, but truthfully on all of them, you will always be allowed to revise and correct and re-upload homeworks. You're always allowed to do that until you get a perfect score on every homework. The only reason the first homework is special is that by the time I get to the second, people start, your work load starts getting high enough that it starts sort of becoming harder and harder to do that for people. And it becomes sort of less and less worth it for people. But definitely with homework, the goal, everything you submit for homework is a draft. And you can keep submitting drafts until you get it perfect if you feel that's worth it. But not on exams. So hopefully I'm answering that question. Okay, I'm going to keep going in the chat. I'm just going to keep doing the chat if that's okay. Okay, cool. And thank you, Alex. Wait, is it Alec or Alex? Sorry. I know it's Alexander, but it's Alex.
Olex.
Sorry. Like the skis, Poland marking. Okay. Or like Odin, like the god. Okay, that doesn't help because that had nothing to do with Odin. But okay, I'll get it eventually. I promise I'll get it. Oh, okay. Olex. Thank you for saying thank you. Awesome. So you could submit that for Conversational Path. By the way, at some point, since I am babbling so much about all this, if at any point someone wants to put in the direct chat or the chat, just like if you're understanding what I'm saying about all those portals, because I keep talking about them, but I haven't like actually put them on the screen. Just somebody maybe want to indicate in the direct chat if you've seen what I'm talking about with those portals, or if you're like, no, you keep mentioning them, Yaverbound, but like actually, what are you talking about? You could tell me that but okay. Thank you, Olix. Okay, I'm going back to the. Okay. Yes. Okay. Thank you for the direct chat. Someone said yes in the direct chat. I appreciate that. Okay. Okay. Great. And thank you, Mira. Awesome. Okay. Okay. All right. And again, once we get to physics, I promise this will be more linear. But I just feel like it's okay. I understand you. Okay. Great, Nathan. Thank you. Awesome. Okay. Cool. Okay. So let me try. I'll get back. So again, all of this will be, let me just go back to the sort of lesson plan, so to speak, of today. And again, and the real lesson plan does include, I do want to get to the homework with you. I want to set you up to start doing the homework for next week. That's like a major task that you shouldn't leave here today without. So and sometimes we take a break. Sometimes, an official break in this Zoom thing. Sometimes we don't. But again, it's Zoom. You're adults. Like you need to walk out for 10 minutes. To rebalance your fluids or whatever. Like you don't have to tell me. I get it. And as I've already mentioned, but I'll mention more explicitly, remember please know, all of this is being recorded for good or for bad. Hopefully for good, for your benefit. All of this is being recorded and it will be uploaded to you tonight. Like it takes a little while, but everything that I'm saying here, going over every real class that we do when we're actually going over material, it's all recorded. It'll all be uploaded to you in a few hours. So, if you miss something, you can replay, blah, 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 blah. So if I forget to take a break, or if I just can't take a break, you take a break when you need it. Oh, cool. Thank you. Oh, someone in the direct chat is thanking me and thanking me for the motivational speech. Okay. No, I appreciate that because I know I go off on these things, but I do mean them. I've been the coordinator of physics at John Jay since 2011, which is obviously significantly before COVID. And you guys, I'm in awe of you. One of the reasons I still love my job is you guys are you work so hard. It is such a hard major. All of them. It was one major when I first came here, but all of I want you to know, I know how hard you're stressing it. And I want you to be intense in this class. I do want you to be intense, but I don't want you to be stressed. There's a difference. It's like the difference between energy and entropy. And believe me, I've been spending most of my life trying to figure out the difference in my own personal approach. But there's a difference between organized energy and freaked out disorganized energy, which is called entropy. And if nothing else, I just want you to know your efforts to even get here, I recognize. I've done some hard things in my life too. Obviously, I went to school like a million times for physics, but I didn't do your major. I did some hard things, but your major is harder. All of them are hard in ways we'll talk about another time anyway, but believe me, I don't think I could have handled it. Okay, anyway, so back to the seeming curriculum here, so to speak. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Sorry. If we get to like 5, no, this class ends at 5:45. Let's add at 5:45. If we get to 5 o'clock and I still haven't addressed homework 1A and homework 1B, you can definitely send a shout out in the chat and say, we need to get to homework. Okay. I don't even mind if it takes us till 5, but by 5, if I haven't actually started helping you start your homework, that would be a mistake. So you can let me know. Also, I want to hear what happened in your lab on Tuesday, but okay, quickly, in terms of who I am right here on this board. So you can send me an email at any time. I have 2 email addresses. One is specifically for the Google Classroom. You can use, but if you're going to actually send me an email with questions or concerns or anxieties or whatever, I would prefer, it'll just be faster if you use my regular John Jay email, the one listed right here. Then there's my cell phone number. Very quickly about that. That's not a joke. You can text. I'm a texter. I'm even a Bitmoji user. You can, I'm embarrassed to say, but you can text here. And sometimes it's better to text. Here's the deal with text. And part of, let me skip for a second. Where you find me physically is in the new building on the 4th floor, 046105. I hope you do come by and visit. I hope I get to know you some way or another by the end of the semester, even if you just want to say hi or blah, blah, blah. It's on the 4th floor. If you're going to come by, you should let me know because it's a weird room to find unless I tell you how to find it. But it's on the 4th floor, and I'm generally there Tuesdays 11 to 1, which is which is like right before it's a little bit before your lab on Tuesdays. I'm generally there. Sometimes I'm not. And these days, since COVID, to be honest, I'm on campus very infrequently. Other than that, which I feel guilty about, and feel sad about, but it's the case. So therefore, because I'm a little bit hard to reach physically, you definitely can text me. And here's how texting works. So that's my phone number for texting. I'll put in the chat too, just in case. And people really do I do find that this works for a lot of students, and I am serious about it. Here's the deal with texting. And maybe you want to write this down. You can text anytime. I don't care. If I'm asleep, I won't hear it. If I'm awake, I'll usually get back to you pretty quick if it's a text, probably quicker than an email. First time you text, identify yourself, please. Like say, like this is Ali Rot from like Physics 102, whatever, or this is Amalay, whatever. I think I just mispronounced both of those names, so please tell me in the chat. But whatever, so identify yourself, and then I'll put it in the contacts. Then here's the deal. You're not bothering me. You're not overstepping if you text. The reason to text is if there's some way I can lower your heart rate, if there is some way that I can reduce your stress in this class, like easily and quickly, like we should text. What that specifically means is if you can write a text that takes you longer to write than it'll take me to respond, you probably should. For example, professor, is the exam tomorrow? Answer, no, it's next week. You're okay. Like, you don't want, right? If you think that, if you're not sure if the exam's tomorrow, and I can just answer that in one word, yes or no, and then now you're a calmer person for having gotten that back in 2 minutes from me, let's do that. Or, professor, I'm freaking out. Like, can I get an extension on blah, 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 blah? Okay, so depending on the circumstance, maybe the answer is no, but I can answer that question quickly, and it would help you for me to answer that quickly. So let's do that. If I can answer, if you can phrase the question as like a yes, no, or true, false, or multiple choice, then by all means, make it a text and let me answer. And if nothing else, if the thing is, professor, I'm freaking out in this class. Like, I know you said it was going to be manageable, but I already feel behind. Is there any way, could I make a phone appointment with you? Can I make a Zoom appointment with you? Answer, yes. How about Thursday? Blah, 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 blah. I won't have the appointment right then, but we can arrange the appointment right then, and you'll feel better and I'll feel better that I helped you. So texting is great as long as it takes you long to write the question, then it takes me to answer it. And I probably will therefore would get to, I could just, and also it shouldn't be back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. If it's like boom, boom, game point match, great. So what you don't want to do in a text, and I have gotten the, and most people do get this very fast, and it works for everybody. It just keeps us in communication. One thing you don't want to do in text is be like, professor, I missed the last 3 weeks. What did you cover? Can you explain? Like, no, I'm not going to teach 3 weeks of material in a text. I hope you understand that. Like, that's not a good use of text. But I think you get that. So, okay. So that's a point of that. Okay. I'm glad. I think I just saw someone laugh at that too, which I'm glad you're laughing because, yeah, but it happens. Okay. So that's that. We're almost, I think it's time to switch screens and go to the Google Classroom. I think, ladies and what I'm about to do now, I think I'm looking at the time. I'm about to shift gears and actually deal with like the work in the class and the, yeah, and when we switch to the Google Classroom, it'll be easier for me to literally tell you the grading system, like literally numerically how it works. Why is my hold on 1 second. I'm sorry. Hold on 1 second. So I'm gonna go to Google Classroom in a second and like start walking it through with you. And in so doing, I will literally lay out the grading system Oh, very nice. Someone's already, okay, I see. Someone's already taking advantage of the texting. Cool. I'm not going to respond right now, but cool. Okay, I shouldn't be seeing that right now, but cool, cool. When I switch to Google Classroom right now, remind me as I'm going through that I do need to make the grading system clear. But before I do that, pardon me, I'm trying to multitask. I should never I can't even do one task at once. Hold on a second. One sec. Okay. Okay. Before I switch to Google Classroom, before I switch my screens, since I do understand that I'm sort of all over the place here, is there any basic confusion or basic question that anybody wants to ask before? I'm going to shift to looking at the Google Classroom. Is there anything that I glaringly that I have forgotten or that someone needs addressed or something? Are we're good? We're good to, so I can shift to, oh, it's clear. So, okay. Thank you.
Yes,
Josh.
it's clear.
Okay.
It's clear, Professor.
Oh, that's great, Madonna. Thank you. And thank you, Josh. I saw the Josh nod. I heard the Madonna voice. You see, this is like, doesn't this almost feel like the human race? Almost like real, almost. Okay, I won't push my luck, but yeah. Okay, great. Thank you, guys. All right. So I'm going to shift here. Okay. Okay, right. So okay. So what you're seeing now, right? Okay. So this is your Google Classroom. In fact, what I should have one mistake I made, I shouldn't have put it up on the screen just yet. I'm assuming I should have literally checked, but I didn't. I'm assuming every single person in this room, first of all, if you're here at all, that means you got my email. Thank you. And you showed up to the right place. Thank you. Good start. I'm also assuming that you joined the Google Classroom. If you're here, if you are in the room right now, but you do not know what I'm talking about Google Classroom, or you did not, for whatever reason, you have not successfully joined the Google Classroom, can you please let me know in chat or private chat? Like, I'm assuming, I mean, I could sort of check, but you did join. Okay, cool. You haven't yet. Okay. Okay, hang on for 1 second. Oh, thank you for the reminder. I get the reminder. All right, thank you. Yes, I will. All right, what I think we need right now. Oh, yes. Okay. So I'm responding to a direct chat right now because it's direct enough. I'm not going to like publicize it. Hang on 1 second. Okay. So I am going to say right now, I mean, I sort of should have checked right before I put it up on the screen, but everybody in the room right now, your priority is like to join this class, like now, if you can. I mean, if I will be able to check in a second who's there. I don't want to do it publicly. But I would recommend ignoring anything I'm saying right now and just trying to join the class and because from here on in, oh, great. Okay. You're welcome. From here on in, as I think I made clear in the email, and maybe Professor Moses made clear on Tuesday, Blackboard is just a link from now on. I never look at Blackboard again, for good or for bad. I know it's annoying to have more than one platform, but our experience in physics in the past has just been ultimately, even for the cost of having you having to deal with more than one platform, the benefits of this platform for physics are so it's so much easier to use and so much better. People generally do find it worthwhile and tolerable in the end. So if anybody, so just tell me this, have a lot of you used this before, like either in Physics 101 or in high school or anything? Have you guys used this platform before, Google Classroom?
I did.
You did. Okay, thank you. That's one. Okay. And I'm looking in the chat. All right, those of you who haven't, we're going to get for 101. Okay. Okay. Part of what we're going to do together right now. Great. A lot of you. Oh, great. Oh, I'm glad you think it's great. I mean, I think so too. Great. I'm glad you like, okay. What part of our goal today is, and I guess you did this on Tuesday, we're going to make sure we're all together on this. Like some aspects of it may take a little getting up to speed for some people, whatever. But I'm not going to embarrass anybody right now or like literally show the people on the screen right now or in, but I'm going to hope you're trying to join right now while I'm talking. And I'm going to start walking through what I see on my side sort of quickly. But I'm going to say one of the goals by 5 o'clock is we're all today going to submit one little quick participation assignment. We're all of us, ideally, before we leave today, we're all going to submit one little 5-point participation assignment, and we're all going to get it back today, like in real time. I would like to leave today making like with all of us believing that we know how to do like an exchange of work and points. Because then from then on in, everything, then we're good to go from then on in. So I'm stalling slightly so that everybody has time to like join the class right now, but I'm going to start walking you through, like, first of all, okay, you see the Zoom link there, obviously. So this is the classwork section. It's more or less what it looks on your side. If you see anything on the screen right now that's in gray, that means it's only on my side because it's an old assignment that I either will or will not use again, but it's not on your side, that's fine. So there's the Zoom link. Okay. Then there's the YouTube classes. To make it clear, the thing that you have on your side is the link to the YouTube channel. You will see if you go to the YouTube channel that there's playlist. Every class is a playlist, and there's physics. There's jjP102 from spring of 2023. I mean, this exact class from last semester. You're welcome to dance around, to scroll around, or check out anything you want there if you want to get ahead or you fall behind. But similarly, know that there will be a playlist for this class that will be created today, and this class will go up to that playlist tonight, and then you'll get a link to it in the Google Classroom tonight, so you can always access it. So like I was saying before, all of these classes you can access as you need them. And there's another port, if you ever use the YouTube at all, it's just a resource for you. You don't have to use it, but if you do use it, you could submit for points. There's a portal for submitting for points just to show that you use the resource. I will quickly, I admit, the one thing about the YouTube recordings is, of course, for some people that makes them more shy about participating. I understand that. It's a trade-off. I feel bad about that. Honestly, I don't think anybody really watches these besides us. Like, I mean, but I do, but if you do feel shy about participating for that reason, I understand. But then give me more ways that I can get to know you in quieter ways, like through taking notes or in the chat, et cetera, et cetera. But okay, so stop me if I'm just trying to walk through this somewhat quickly so you can see how it works. So the YouTube, so every class, a YouTube recording will be uploaded after the class. And then, sorry, these are all old classes. And then class notes, i.e. the whiteboard of the day, will be uploaded. And of course, the whiteboards get longer and longer as we start getting really into material. So that will always be available to all of you in the Google Classroom. Okay, now then here, okay, this is what I was all talking about before, all these participation homeworks. Okay, all of these portals that say, please go back, please go forward, you subscribe, they're all the kinds of things I was alluding before. They're all due December 7th, like I said. But you'll notice, and stop me if you don't understand them, but you'll notice that the very first one right here, called a game turn 1. Oh, some people have already tuned in. Good job, good job. Okay. This turn 1, it's a turn in the game. This will happen every week. Every week, you have till midnight after this class is over to, as it says, you can read it quietly on your own, but to just submit like a fresh document with like one sentence, just indicating one way in which you participated today. It could literally be, I said hello in the chat. Like truthfully, or I said hello at the beginning of class, like that, which is one of the reasons we say hello. So right here in this portal every week before midnight, you're going to view the instructions. Sorry. Now, of course, this is the teacher at your end, looks a little different on the student end, but you're going to view the instructions, and on your side, you'll see a plus sign, I think, or something that some way where it gives you the option of creating a new Google Doc, or creating a new Word doc, or creating a new Excel sheet, or something like that. I'm asking you to do that every week. Like, don't write anything in the I mean, you can, but that's not the assignment. Don't submit your assignment into the comments. Don't submit your assignment as a comment, even though all I'm asking is like one sentence of self-reflection. I mean, literally, it's like a sentence of self-reflection. Like, here, today I said hello, or today I asked a really challenging question about calculus or something, right? Or whatever. You're going to open a fresh doc. You're going to write out the one sentence. You could include a screenshot of the chat if that's helpful. You're not trying to prove anything, though. You're just trying to remind me. But in the fresh doc, you're going to write out the one sentence, and then you're going to hit turn in, and that's it. And then you're going to take like a minute to do it. I'm going to take like a minute to see it and like put my handwriting on it, a red check on it. And as long as you do it before midnight, you'll get 5 points for doing that. If you do it the next day, for you forget to hit turn in, or like if you fall asleep and you do it the next day, you'll get 4 points. But after the next day, it's not worth it. It's like kind of pointless. These are meant to be like spontaneous moments of self-reflection. So this is the weekly turn. All the other interesting ways in which you participate, put in all the other portals, but this is just like the check-in. Did you do something today to participate? And in order to, and I see that there's something in the chat. I'll look in the chat in a second, but I'm going to say, notice already 2 people have already done this today. I'm going to ask you all right now to do this right now, so we can make sure we're on the same page. I still haven't explained where all the points are going. I have to do that, or how that grading system works. But these are points. You will get, I want you now to do this. If you haven't said anything in the class, most of you have, then just write hello in the chat right now or something. And do this right now. And we're going to pause while you do it. And I'm going to look at them right now and send them back to you. So before we go any further, we can make sure that our communication is working in both directions, and we know how you can turn in work and how you can get points. That's what we're going to do right now. So and if once you do it, you can start scrolling ahead and look. You can start looking at the real homework if you want. Feel free. But other than that, just bear with me and let me look in the chat. Oh wait,
Professor, we should make a Google Doc.
Oh wait, good question. Great question. Okay, so for this thing, for the game turns, for these things, it could be anything. It could be a screenshot of the chat as someone put in. It could be a fresh Google Doc. It could be a fresh Word doc. For these things, it could be anything. For these game turns, the only thing I'm saying, I will say my ultimate favorite is PDF. We'll get to that in a minute. My ultimate ideal for everything is PDF, and there's a reason for that. But for this, is the only thing it can't be for these game participation things. The only thing it can't be is just something in the comment section. It has to actually be some kind of document where you actually hit the button turn in, because then I can mark it, which I will do right now. So we're all going to see if this is working. Then I can mark it and give you full points. So it could, so I think I mentioned Google Doc because I think that's one of the options that Google Classroom gives you on your side.
Yeah, it is.
Right. Okay. But certainly you can, but those are just options so that you can just do it straight into the system. You're absolutely welcome to do something somewhere else, some other way, and then upload it to the system. And we're going to talk about that when it comes to real homework. That's what when it comes to the physics homework, that's what a lot of you will do. But this is meant to be so quick that whatever's quickest for you, just do it, just except for the comments. And by the way, the reason I'm stuttering, I want to make clear to all of you, especially those of you who have not used Google Classroom before, one thing I like about Google Classroom is you really can do it on your phone. You really can. I mean, there's an app for it that's good. And I'm not paid to say this, obviously, but like you can get the app for your phone, and little things like this, you can literally just type straight into your phone and just do it. And like on your way to the bathroom, and I'm fine with that, with this. And also you can get the notifications and you can get your grades and everything on the phone. So, and I know technically Blackboard does that, but who are we kidding? So it could be anything for this. Now, when it comes to partly we're doing this right now as a practice, as a ramp up, because when it comes to the physics homework, that you'll notice is worth more points. It's a little bit more serious, and there's a little bit more of a protocol there. So we're going to get to that in a minute. But we're going to do this right now to make sure we're on the same page. Okay, wait. So I'm looking at the chat.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Awesome. Thank you. So someone said in the chat, can it be a screenshot of the chat? Yes, it can. And by the way, with these things, if you've never, on the document that you turn in or the screenshot of the JPEG, whatever, you don't even have to write your name because like your name's already on the portal. So that's cool. Like I know who you are. Can you submit a PDF? Absolutely. I love PDFs. So if you can do a PDF, all the power to you. It does not have to be a Word document, but it could be a Word document. Okay. So in this particular, right. Now, great question. Great question in the direct chat. Someone in the direct chat wrote, so in this particular assignment, having the video on does not count. It has to be a contribution in the chat or spoken. Oh, that's a great question. Let me be clear. No. Video does count. It does. Anything you did today to participate, if you showed video, that does count. You can totally write. You could put a screenshot of it here in this portal, or you could even just like write out. I mean, the screenshot would probably be ideal, but you could even write out, I showed video today. It's anything you did at all. But why that's such a good question, and let me know if my answer is clear in a second, is let's say you showed video, right? So here in this 5-point portal, you write, I showed video. That's fine. That's great. But now, if you get it back from me and you see me write on the bottom, double dip, exclamation point, I'm encouraging you to double dip. I'm saying, good, you showed video. So now you also can put this in the video portal. Like this is like the generic, just tell me something you did and get 5 points. Thank you. It's to force self-reflection for a moment and just to force you to remember the class, whatever. But then yes, if it falls into some other bucket or more than one bucket, put it in the other buckets also, for sure. So, okay, it's clear. Okay, great. Okay. And so like the person that just asked me that question, she or he can like triple dip up a storm because she or he just also said it's clear, thank you. So she can take this whole conversation that she did and also put it in the closing a conversational loop. So really, the person that asked a million years ago, is there a limit to how many points you get? No, there is not. And this is not a joke. Like the more, if you think, oh, I'm going to game this system, I'm going to show him this is so, I'm going to break this freaking system, yo. I'm going to be submitting up the wazoo. Good. Some people have in the past. Some people have literally tried to break the system by submitting so much that I could barely keep up. Great. That's the point. I'd rather you be doing a ton of things than me doing a ton of things. And I still haven't gotten the grading system. If you can ensure your A by participating so freaking much that you still allow you create a cushion where you're still getting C's on the exams, but you get an A in the course, Quark bless America. That is part of and that is possible. That's what I'm going to get to in a minute. But you're not taking advantage of me if you do that. You're taking advantage of, I mean, you're doing the right thing. Okay. So I'm going to stop for a second. I'm going to in fact say, because I think you are, I can tell by your questions, I think you're getting what's going on. I'm asking you all now, I'm going to turn off the screen for a second. Well, let's just see who, I'm not going to look at names. But let's just see how many. I'm going to turn off the screen in a second, and I'm going to mark all of these. I'm going to pause, and I'm going to mark them in real time so that we can all know we're on the same page. Yeah, okay, so like 11 people. Well, okay, it's sort of showing names. I don't want to do that. All right. I'm going to ask you to turn these in right now. If you think you're about to make a mistake, don't worry about it. We're going to find out right now. This is, again, the philosophy is we want to make sure all of you can get full credit for this thing, even if it takes like a little, moment or two to do that. If you do something wrong right here, you're not going to be punished. We're going to find out it's wrong so you can redo it. So we're going to pause. You're all turning these in right now. If you have a question or it's unclear, put it in the chat. I'm going to grade them right now. I'm going to show you how fast this is. This should not be stressful for either of us. If you're done, if you're waiting for your grade on this, which will be a 5, if you've done it right, then I'm actually going to ask you, in fact, let me pause for a second. I'm going to ask you to actually start going on to homework 1. Homework 1A. Let me make sure I'm looking at the right thing. I'm going to ask you to go to homework 1A. 1 second. Hold on. I'm going to ask you to scroll down to homework section 1, like as opposed to homework section 0. Homework section 1, simple harmonic oscillation. You will notice there. Yeah, you'll notice there's 2 homeworks posted technically due next week, right? The first one's called homework 1A on thingy things. That is deliberately informal. It's deliberately sort of like fun, dare I say. It's not mathematical. There's more than one possible right answer to some of those questions. I mean, there ultimately are answers that are more right than others, but it's not mathematical. It's not based on any, you don't have to have remembered any physics to do it. You just follow the instructions and you try to do it. So what I'm going to ask you guys right now, anybody, once you finish this little participation moment, I want you to go to homework 1A. And the only thing I'm going to ask right now, and stop me if this is not clear, the one protocol I have to get you used to is definitely you're going to open a new document. You're either going to follow the Google Classroom thing of like creating a fresh Google Doc or creating a Word doc, or what you can do if you want to practice the thing that we kind of really need to do for the other homeworks, or you're welcome to take out blank white paper or notebook paper, like physical. You're welcome to take out physical paper and start writing. Well, it's going to ask you to do some activities. You have to do some things with your hands for a bit and then think about it. But then after you do these things with your hands, take out a notebook if you like, or like printer paper, and just clearly label the homework as homework 1A and question 1 and whatever, and start writing out your informal answers to each question. And then scan that in, or take a picture of whatever you wrote out. Take pictures or scan in, make a PDF out of it and upload that. Now that's an extra step, right? For some of you, that's actually a confusing step. I understand that. That's why we're doing this all together. But I'm saying with homework 1A, I'm telling you right now, you're going to get full credit as long as you do it in the correct format. I don't really care about I don't really care what answers you get. And I don't really care about full sentences or anything formal in homework 1A. Homework 1B gets formal. Homework 1A is informal, but the thing I need you to do is to start getting used to not doing the homework on the sheet itself. So you're going to create your own sort of blue book as though it were an exam. You're either going to create a fresh document electronically, or you're going to use white paper and then scan that in, whichever you're more comfortable with right now. But if you're waiting for me, if you've already done turn 1, start working on homework 1A. Let me know if you have any questions in the chat. If you don't fully understand the tasks of the physics, don't overstress it because it's informal. But the thing I need you to understand is that what I don't want is for you to type in answers or write in answers on the question sheet. I want a fresh document that makes it clear what questions you're asking, that makes it clear what questions you're answering. Just let me pause for a second. Can you raise your hand if that's clear what I just said or what I'm asking you to do? Thank you, Mira. Thank you, Amelie. Am I saying it right? Is it Amelie? No, Amelie. Wait, sorry.
Amelie.
Oh, Amelie. Okay, sorry. Okay, Carla, you asked me to repeat. Okay, so what I'm repeating. Okay, fair enough. Thank you for yes. Oh, and other people in the direct chat asked me to. Okay, fair enough. No, I appreciate your honesty. Okay, this is what I'm saying right now. Your first priority, everybody, is to actually attempt to submit game turn 1, like right now, which also means you have to join the Google Classroom to do that. So if you're still working on that, work on that. So your first priority is to submit game turn 1 right now. But if and when you've done that, you're like waiting for me to grade it and turn it back to you. So if you've done that, you're turning to homework 1A. Homework 1A will ask you to do some, it'll ask you to like have 2 things on your desk. It might ask you to clear your whole desk. You don't have to do that, but you have to identify 2 things on your desk. And we'll ask you to do sort of silly things with these. It'll say, try to have 2 things in one place at one time. Try to have 2 things at 2 places at one time. It'll ask you these like silly things. And I'm telling you right now, it'll ask you to do 5 things. I'm telling you right now, of those 5 things, some of those 5 tasks that it asks you, some are really easy to do and some are literally impossible. The main goal of that sheet is to actually identify which ones are possible and which ones are impossible. So I'm asking you to do that, to take out homework 1A and actually try to do it right now while you're waiting for me. And you're going to try to write up your answers to the questions. And you're going to try to submit them right now if you have time. You're going to try to do homework 1A right now. I want you to know, I don't care if your answers are right or wrong. Don't stress it. It doesn't matter if your answers are right or wrong. And I don't care how formal you are in writing it up right now. The only thing I care about is that when you try to do homework 1A, you don't don't write out your answers on the sheet itself. Like create a new document electronically, or get out a piece of paper, write on the piece of paper, and then take a take a picture of the paper and upload that and submit it. That's what I'm asking. Now that's actually, for some people that's harder. Some people that's really easy. Some people that's really hard. That's why we're doing this together the first time. There's no shame if it's hard for you, but does it make, tell me again, the people that just asked me, is it, so I'm asking, try to do homework 1A. If you've done game turn 1, try to do homework 1A and try to upload and turn in a document that has answers to homework 1A. I don't care if they're not the right answers, but try to answer the questions for homework 1A and upload it. Now, is that clear to, I mean, 2 people just asked me to, or a number of people asked me, it does make sense? Okay, great. And is there anybody who else to ask me? Okay. Okay. And Caitlin, is it clear to you too? Where's Kate? Oh, great. Okay, thank you. All right, awesome. Okay, so I'm going to shut up for a minute. I'm going to turn to your turn ones and make sure we're all on the same page. And you, wherever you are, you're either trying to join Google Classroom, or you're trying to do game turn 1, or you're trying to do homework 1A. And of course, and we're not going any, I mean, if you have to run and take a break, run and take a break. But this will all take us about 10 minutes. And then I'll get back to the grades and all that. Okay. Okay, sorry. Can you hear? Okay. So I'll hold. I know that would took a little. Oh, you're back. Wow, that's Antigone. That is like okay. So yeah, I'll stall for a second because I know I just ended up giving you guys a break, which you certainly deserve, and it may take a second for you to come back. I know that was like a little bit of dead air, but here's where we are now. See, I've already see there's some video. Thank you for showing video, but see, we're already losing. Anyway, all right. So here's where we're at right now. Like, if well, okay. Here's something I can do. I'm going to say right now, if I read your name out loud, that means do I need to do that? I'm not going to do that. If you're still having trouble joining Google Classroom, please let me know in the chat. I think you're all been successful. Hold on a second. Everybody's at a different stage now. In other words, hang on one. Yeah, okay. Even the one person who was asking me questions about, no, I'm not going to do it this way. Sorry. Okay, so I think everybody who's in this room right now has joined. That's good. Again, from here on in, I don't even look at CUNY first anymore. Like, I hope it's clear to you all. And if you have a friend who hasn't showed up to class yet or doesn't know, like, you might want to let me know, or they should let me know, because from here on in, you exist insofar as you exist in Google Classroom, and you'll get grades insofar as you're in Google Classroom. But it looks like that's everybody here. That's great. Now, if you turned in game turn one, then you should have gotten it back already. So that's our first spot check. If you feel that you turned it in, then you should have gotten it back from me. The way this works, for those of you who never use Google Classroom, I think the way you get notifications and work and all that, it goes to your email, whatever email you gave me. Like, it looks like you just get emails, I think is how it, unless you have the app and then it looks differently. But so you should check right now. If you think you turned it in, then you got it back from me. And I'll be more clear about that. If you got a 5 from me right now, that means you know what you're doing. You get, and that's good. And I see that. So that means from now on, every week, every game turn, you just do exactly what you just did there, and you'll get a 5. And I still have to tell you where those points are going, but great. If I wrote double dip or triple dip or something on if I wrote that out in red pen, then that means, okay, there's other portals that apply to you. You could put them in right now if you want. And maybe you did. Maybe some of you did. I haven't even looked yet. So it doesn't mean you didn't. But just know that, if you got a 4, in general, usually if you get a 4 on these game turns, usually what that means is you're a day late. And so you're still getting 4 points. It doesn't mean you're getting an 80%. It means you're getting 4 out of a possible 5, and that's not a problem. But if you got a 4, it means I'm acknowledging that I got something from you and we had an exchange, but actually there's a slight misunderstanding somewhere that I want to correct right now. If you got a 4, it means there's still something that you need to do or I want you to do, and then it'll turn into a 5. To be blunt, in one case, one person got a 4, and it's totally in good faith. Like, I know everybody's trying. One thing I should make clear that is really important for all of this stuff that we're getting out of the way today is basically all so that you know exactly what you're doing when it comes time to turn in an exam. Okay, that's what this is really all about. Because as I already mentioned, the exams are unusual. In a way, they're super friendly, but in a way, they're super rigid because they're so friendly. So everything that I'm saying here about the game turn, and then homework 1A, which is slightly more formal, and then homework 1B, which is more formal than that, is all ramping up to exactly what you would need to do for an exam. That's the purpose of kind of all of today. Okay. And it's all in baby steps, and it's all we still all have room to get perfect scores on everything. Oh, we're about to be interrupted by my family. But so one thing I need you to know, and this may be why 1 or 2 of you got 4s or something, is no matter what, even if there was multiple ways that you participated today, even if you participated multiple ways, or there's multiple instances, and therefore you have multiple screenshots or something, or you feel that you deserve multiple points, that may be, But for each submission, every time you submit something, like every 1 week for a game turn, or every one time you submit a draft of an assignment or an exam, I need it to be one file. One file. There's a lot of reasons for this. This gets hard for some people. We want to iron this out, and it's easy for others. We want to iron this out right now. So for example, in game turn 1, a couple of you put up 2 JPEGs, I mean 2 images. I totally understand why. Like, I get it. Like, that's not offensive or anything, but actually that's that's harder to grade and to understand that it's harder to put 1 grade on that, and to mark it up coherently. So what we want to get in the habit of doing, especially for the real homeworks and especially for exams, is no matter how many pages or images you have, or for example, often you'll have many, many pages that you did a lot of physics on. And so you took pictures of many, many pages so that you'll end up having many, many JPEGs or PNGs or whatever for like some big homework assignment or some big physics exam. You'll have many, many JPEGs, but what you need to do is compile them all into one file, which I will explain how to do that to anybody who needs, or there's multiple ways, or you can explain to each other. But even in something as simple as a game turn, I need it to be one file. And you'll see why soon. Even if, for example, some like you did one of the funny portals today, closing a conversational path or something. Say you did it 3 times, so you want 3 times as many points. I'm down with that. We already agreed. You can, but still what you need to do is like take your 3 screenshots or your 3 instances or whatever, put them all into one file. And at the top of the file, say like, the following are the 3 occasions today that I did this participation. Please give me 3 times 7 point or whatever. You follow? But it always has to be one file. Again, this becomes particularly important by the time we get to exams. So if you got a 4 today, that might be why. All I'm asking you to do is just go back, compile your JPEGs into one file, re-upload it as one file, and then you'll have a 5. Another one of you, I think, submitted a blank document because you thought I said that you could submit a blank. I don't mean you could submit literally a blank page. You can use a blank page to write something on, but you do have to write something, like at least even a sentence that says, I said hello today. So if you got a 4 for that reason, just give me a new file that says I said hello today, and then you'll have a 5. And again, this is like the attitude with everything. With everything until exams, you just keep doing it until you get it perfectly right. Everything is a draft. Everything is a draft. Everything is a work in progress until it lands where we both want it to land. Now, I will say, I don't want to, hang on. One sec. Pause for 1 second. A couple of private chat things happening. Bear with me for 1 second. One other thing, sorry, bear with me for 1 second. Who else? Oh, and someone has left. Oh, no. Okay. Hold on. Okay, so that's that. But basically, if you got a 5 already on the game turn 1, that means we now know what we're doing. And then I'm going to turn my attention to homework 1A. I will turn my attention to homework 1A, but like one of you already wrote in the chat, and I totally appreciate the honesty. At least one person wrote in the chat. I think it was public. Yeah, it was public. Somebody put in public that they didn't understand the questions for homework 1A. They are weird questions. They are weird. They're unusual. They're a little bit unexpected. We are going to talk about it, but it may not be until next week that we talk about it. I will make them clear. But one thing I want you all to get used to, one thing we're going to start getting used to, you're going to see with homework 1B, is the way it works in physics is we ask you to do things first and we ask you to make a try, an attempt, then we talk about it, go over it, and then you can still improve what you tried. So the hard part about physics is we don't tell you first how to do things. There's 1,000 reasons for this. The biggest reason is like, that's just not the way physics, because you're not here to learn about the history of physics. You're learning how to do physics. And when people do physics, they don't know what they're doing until they do it, if that makes sense. A big thing that we're learning how to do in this class, we're trying to become science researchers, right? Of one kind or another. So we're actually trying to learn what to do when we don't know what to do. And I'm not being sarcastic about that. This is actually a big leap for a lot of people. Substantively, we're asking you to get more and more used to the experience of not having a recipe or an algorithm or a formula to rely on, but just to try to use the logic of whatever you already know to figure out the next thing that you right now don't know. That's the way physics really works. It's part of why we don't have a textbook. The theory is that whenever you get a new assignment or a new problem in physics or a new experiment or a new lab, you don't know what you're doing when you sit down to it. All you have is the knowledge you acquired from the last topic. And the hope or the theory of physics is that physics is all logically connected, not easily connected, but logically connected. So the theory is that if we think hard enough about whatever we used to know, somehow we'll figure out a way to apply to the new thing that we don't know. Now that's hard at first for a lot of people. Like the first homework 1B, which I will start you off on before this class is over. That's what I want to get to. But I'm not going to give a PowerPoint presentation on the topic. I'm not going to assign you reading in a textbook. I am going to expect that you took Physics 101 and that you have notes from Physics 101. I am going to allow you to look at Khan Academy or anything you want to do, blah, 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 blah. But I'm basically going to ask you, I'm going to start you off with 1B, I'm talking about now. I'm going to start you off in a few minutes, but then I'm going to ask you to just try your best and figure things out and turn in your best attempt at a draft 1 based on anything you can figure out on your own for next week. Then we're going to talk about it. Now, some of you will find that very stressful at first. Maybe you already found lab 1 on Tuesday very stressful for that reason, because we don't give recipes and we don't give algorithms. And that's annoying to people at first. And maybe you found Physics 101 very annoying that way. Like, fair enough. The flip side is that you can always revise and improve your grade because we understand it's hard. But we're trying to teach you how to teach yourselves, basically. So I'm saying all that to say, because I really want to get to homework 1B, which is kind of the harder and more point-worthy and more ultimately related material to the class, I'm going to say right now with homework 1A, even if you didn't understand my questions at all, I believe you and I respect that. Even if you didn't understand the questions at all, still just take out a fresh document and be a little careful with yourself. Like maybe if you didn't understand the first question, okay, write down for the first question, I really don't understand this. Now you might want to push yourself a little farther and you might want to say, wait, what don't I understand about this? Like, is it words in his sentence that I don't understand, or is his sentences too long? Like you might want to push yourself a little bit and be like, you keep using the word thing. I don't know what you mean by thing. Or you might want to specify what you don't understand. You might find that if you specify what you don't understand, you'll see that maybe you do have more of an idea than you think. So you might want to push yourself a little. Also, maybe you literally don't understand question 1, maybe. But then if you just write down for question 1, I do not understand this. Then look at the question 2 and see if you don't understand that either. Or question 3 or question 4. See if there's anything you understand and just try. With homework 1A, what I'm telling all of you is I'm not going to discuss it right now at all because it's very informal. I just want you to get in that. I don't want you to be freaked out. I want you to get used to not knowing what you're doing and doing it anyway. So homework 1A, do anything. Do your best. If you literally end up handing in a piece of paper that just says, I didn't understand a word of this, I would feel like you might be selling yourself slightly short, but I'll still give you full credit. For 1A, we will discuss it next time. But for right now, what I just want to see is that you can make a fresh document with something on it that acknowledges the existence of 1A, and that's all you have to do for 1A. For now, of course, if you do understand it, please do it. But that's for 1A. With the remaining time, with the 25 minutes we have left, I'm going to start actually diving into homework 1B and starting you off there. And that's what we're serious, and I won't finish it. There's no way I'll finish it, but I'll get you going and I'll show you what it is I expect you to do for it for next time. But I also have to address the grading system really quick. And there's into chat. Wait, oh, it's quick. Oh, okay. Oh. Okay, wait, I'm looking at the direct chat. Sorry, this is actually very helpful because there was one person. Okay, huh? So it doesn't. Wait. Oh, now I see. Okay, great. Those of you in the direct chat that, okay, now it came in. I don't know what the delay was. Bear with me for 1 second, folks. This is good. This means we're about to have 100% of this class, which is great. Hang on 1 second. Okay, great. Bear with me for. Okay, great. Thank you for, sorry for delay. Now so a couple of them didn't look like they had come in, but they did come in. So we're at 100% now. So I totally appreciate it. So everybody knows what's going on. That's great. That's great. Okay. So now I want to start you rolling on homework 1B. So let's turn to that.
I found this on the web.
Okay. Siri always wants to enroll in this class after the ad drop period. I don't know what okay, so I'm going to put up work. So we're going to start talking about homework 1B, which is a little bit more serious and involves physics and all of that. While I'm pulling it up, and I realize we have 25 minutes to do that. So now it's going to, and I apologize in advance. So it looks like we're not really going to talk about your experience in lab this week. We generally each week, we're going to spend about half our time doing lecture stuff and going over homework stuff. And we're going to spend about half the time actually going over what happened in the lab. And it's a little bit negligent on my part that we will not have done that today. And if you want to put any quick comments or anything that I should be aware of about your lab, if you want to tell me anything in the chat or in text, please do. I mean, anything good or bad that I should just know. But I mean, obviously I know what in principle you learned. Okay, so where am I going? Okay, so I'm going to pull this up. Okay. Okay. This is going to be a little bit, again, I'm just going to start you. Whatever I'm about to do now is a little bit more the way class will feel in general, but this will be a little bit rushed. So okay, so you should be seeing it. Okay, so we're about to talk about this, right? But it's going to be a little bit rushed, as I say, because I still haven't told you how does this all. I'm going to say quickly how the grading works, because you need to know. So maybe write this down. And I'm happy to repeat this. It's important, so I'm happy to repeat it next week or whatever, but just I do want you to hear me say it at least once. What happens is this: you're going to take your midterm exam, you're going to take your final exam, you're going to have a final lab average. Those three things those three numbers will be averaged together to make your base average, okay? Average together in a normal way, like added together and divided by 3. Now, again, sometimes I do special nice things, like sometimes I might say that the better of your two exams, I weight a little bit more. I might do a nice thing like that, in which case I would warn you and say that. I will never do anything meaner than what the syllabus says, but basically those three numbers, lab and the two exams, get averaged together, and that makes your base exam average. But then everything else that we ever do, all these other points, all the physics homework, like this thing on a spring, which I think is worth 35 points, right? Every game turn, which is worth like 5 points, all the game portals, which start adding up to lots and lots and lots of points if you do them lots and lots, right? All that stuff. Also, when I issue announcements too, you'll see if I ever have to like cancel a class or do something weird or have you watch a video or something instead, if I ever make an announcement, I will literally say, as soon as you get this announcement, reply to me confirming that you've seen and you understand the announcement. And when you reply with the word yes, you'll get 6 points. Like I do that. So you'll get and then there'll be extra credit assignments, whatever. All points that you ever get from anything, any kind of homework, any kind of participation, whatever, they all just accumulate in a pile as you proceed through the semester. By the end of the semester, and they're just accumulating. And any of those things that you don't do, I should make this clear, any homework that you don't do or any participation thing that you don't do is nothing. You just don't do it. It's not a 0. And if you get 27 out of a 35 possible points on a homework, you're getting 27 points. It's not a percentage. You're not getting penalized for the points you didn't get. They're just all extra points, okay? And they're all, in theory, optional, if you want to think of it that way. So at the end of the semester, the average person, I should say this quickly, I know we have to get this homework. At the end of the semester, the average person may have accumulated, like, let's say 240 of these points. Maybe out of a possible 300 or so. I mean, it's different every semester, but maybe there was a possible 300 points or something, and the typical person accumulated like 240, let's say. So what do I do with that? Who cares? This is what I do with it. At the end of the semester, every semester, I have a formula. I come up with one scaling factor that's different every semester. I can't tell you what it is now, but it's the same for every single student. The scaling factor will be, it's a divisor. It'll be something like, let's say, the number 20. What that would mean is that every student's big pile of points will get divided by 20. So again, the number 20, these are all realistic examples, but they're just examples. It's all like different, like every semester. But say you have 240 points, and then my divisor at the end of the semester is 20. I would take your 240 points, I would divide by 20, so that makes 12. 12 points would be added onto your base exam average to increase your grade by 12 points. Now, this is just an example, but it's a fairly typical example. The typical person, if they do a lot of homework or a lot of participation, can get like 8 or 9 or 10 or 12 or more points on their average for doing all that. It's designed so that you can literally and comfortably raise your grade by like a letter and a half, if in normal cases. Then after that, I reserve the right to add 1 extra point to anyone or everyone who has shown any kind of real initiative, who basically, anybody who I really know by the end of the semester, if you've made your presence clear and consistent and you've been an invested citizen in the class, and like try to help other people, blah, 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 I can yet add 1 more point to your average. And I do that for a lot of people. I will especially do that if you're on the border, if you've been making yourself present and known, and then your grade after I even added the 12 points was like right on an annoying borderline, you're on a bubble, then I add the points so we don't have to worry about that borderline issue. So at the end of the day, I know I'm speaking quickly, and again, I can repeat this next week if you want, but here's the point of this whole thing. The exams you have to take, I mean, you have to take, but you take them under the conditions that I already said, and the exams count. All this other stuff you don't have to do if you don't want to. The theory is the theory is that there's more than one path to an A. If you happen to be a rockin' exam taker who doesn't get stressed out by exams and just knows his stuff, and again, you have to be really honest on the exam. We'll explain when we get there, like you have to know what you're doing. But if you do, and you rock the exams and you rock lab and you get 95 on both exams, you get a 95 in lab, then you could do none of this stuff that we're talking about and you'll have an A in the class, like Quark bless America. However, if you're like most people and exams are kind of stressful, even when it sounds like they're not going to be, or the physics is stressful, even when it's trying not to be, the whole point is you do all this homework and you do all this participation and stuff like that. And so if you get back your first midterm and you see that your midterm is like 71, let's say, let's say it's 71, you might think to yourself, oh my God, I'm getting a C- in this class. No, if you got a 71 on the midterm, but you're doing all this participation, all that kind of stuff, and you're doing fine in lab, you could actually comfortably assume if you got a 71 on the midterm that you may well be gunning not for a C-, but like for a B. Or similarly, if you've got an 81 on the midterm, you may be gunning for an A. So you can get your A one way or the other, or certainly both. But that's the idea. So all of these points, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to go to this homework in a second now. The homeworks are designed to help you practice for the exam for sure. And the homeworks you can revise and redo, you can help each other and all of that. But there is a strict format for doing the homeworks, which we use on the exams. And just know that when you get back your homework score, again, it's not a percentage. It's just if you get 30, once you get 35 points on this homework, just think of it as 35 points that are going in a pile. And then at the end of the semester, maybe I'm dividing that by something like 20. So you've just gotten like 1.5 points to add to your final average. And every one of these homeworks and everything is all adding up to literally add hopefully a grade and a half or something to your average. And at the end of the day, again, I mean, you could consider it extra credit if you want, consider it whatever you want. But the whole theory is, we don't think you should all be just judged on 2 days in the semester, 2 exam days. We think your grade should be heavily determined by what you do on a weekly basis. So none of it, it's not a gift, it's not a joke, it's not a curve, it's the different ways that you do work. Okay, is that clear? Sort of clear. Is that, oh, thank you, Josh. Okay, thank you. I'm going to mispronounce it again. Wait, thank you. Wait, I want to say Amelie, but it's not Amelie. Tell me again. Sorry.
Amelie.
Oh, Amelie. Oh, okay. That's my problem. Okay, Yaverbaum, Amelie. Okay, all right, cool. Thank you guys for. Okay, so it's clear. Again, if it becomes unclear. Oh, and Madonna. Sorry, does that mean a question or yes? It's clear. Oh, Madonna.
Yes, I do have a question.
Okay,
So, how many questions will be on exams?
Well, they're long. They are long. They'll be more or less. You see this problem here that we're about to start. This homework. An exam would be something about this. It would be like 3 or 4 of these things strung together. So this thing is like technically one problem, but it has all these different parts, like 9 parts, and it sort of gets challenging at the end. An exam would be like 3 or 4 of these kind of things, like 3 or 4 fact patterns, and then a bunch of parts related to that fact pattern. Is that? So they take a few hours to do, if that's what does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And everybody, when we get to the exam, we'll talk about it. And you're going to have a practice exam before the exam. The one thing you will not have in this class, if you pay attention, if you stay with me, the one thing you won't have much of is surprises. We're not interested in surprising you. We're interested in you learning anyway. So yeah, okay. So we'll talk about the exam in detail before we get to it. And you'll have a practice document that looks very much like the actual exam. So you'll know what it looks like very much way before you take. No, well, not way before, but before you take. Okay. Now, this thing here, again, I know I'm rushing now. I know we only have 15 minutes. I'm just going to start you off. You may have to do this. You could consult any source you want. You certainly might want to take out your notes from Physics 101. Like this problem starts off as kind of like a review. It transitions us from the end of 101 to the new material. So it does assume that you've learned something in 101, and very particularly, it assumes that you've already established in lab on Tuesday, F equals negative kx. I mean, not to spoiler alert or whatever, but I wish I had time to discuss with you, but assuming that you feel that you got somewhere with this concept of F equals negative kx on Tuesday, That's very much what it's certainly the first couple of questions are about here. In fact, if you're taking note, the first question, you definitely need to know F equals negative KX. The second question and the third question, you need to know F net equals MA. You might want to review that from Physics 101 if you don't remember. And then by the fourth question, I'm going to tell you right now, just to give you hints, by the fourth question, you're going to have to shift gears and think about anything you might have learned from Physics 101 about energy, about kinetic energy, or about work and kinetic energy, or about potential energy. That's just a hint, okay? But that's by the time you get to question 4. Now, this sheet gets harder and harder, and it's really hard by the time it gets to 9. 9, I think I wrote in Google Classroom, is actually optional at this point. It's bonus. Don't kill yourself over 9. But try your best on the first 8 questions to hand in whatever you can for next week. Now, what am I looking for? Okay, I have to slow down here. First of all, here's where I'm saying, here's why you sort of practiced just now with me, homework 1A. The first thing is when I say that I want this homework for next week, I mean that I want you to create a new document. I don't want you to do the answers on this. Pretend it's an exam, pretend you're taking out a blue book. I want you to create a new document on which you're going to respond to this. And I'm going to do that in a, okay. And for some of you, maybe that means opening up a fresh Google Doc or whatever on the computer. But for most of us, including me, I still have a much easier time doing physics and math, like things that involve equations and diagrams. For me personally, it's much easier to do that with pencil and paper. And that is fine, which means for something like this, you definitely have to take out fresh paper, fresh pencil, and you're going to, and so I'm going to switch screens in a second, and you're going to start answering these questions as though it's a blue book. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is long enough. It's good. You're going to end up writing on more than one page. I'm happy for you to give me a multi-page file, but it has to be one multi-page file. For those of you who don't know how to do that, or like, in other words, I don't want a bunch of JPEGs. It's really problematic. It's anyway, I don't. So if nothing else, for those of you who are still with me, if in case this helps, one trick you can do is write out things on a blank piece of paper, make 5 pages of your scratch of your work, blah, blah, blah. Then take a picture of each page. Say you have 5 pages. Now you have 5 JPEGs. Now what you do is you open up, create a new Word doc. I'm not saying this is the only way. For some of you, this is like a stupid way to do it. But if you need one piece of advice, open up a new Word doc, upload the JPEGs, upload the images into your computer, and insert one image on each one page of the Word doc. So like page 1 of the Word doc is just a picture of your first page. Then page 2 is a picture of your second page. Now you have a Word doc that's just 5 pages long that just has 5 photographs in it. Now print as PDF. Like go to print. Even if you don't have a printer, just go to the printer. One of the options is print as PDF. In other words, save it as a PDF file. Do that. And then upload that PDF file to the Google Classroom, and that's your homework. I may have said that way too fast for some people. Maybe some of you can get that if you replay the video later, or maybe some of you have to text me and ask me, that's fine. Oh, which also reminds me, you guys, please, if you haven't already in lab, please, please, please set up a WhatsApp or like a Discord server amongst you. Like set up something, please, that you're all involved in, that you can help each other, but that doesn't involve me or Moses. You need space to help each other where you don't think that we're paying it, like where we're not there. Like, please do that and help each other with things like this. But I mean, you could do it right now if you want. But anyway, so I know I only have 10 minutes. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to switch screens again. I'm going to pretend that I'm doing the homework. And of course, I wish I had a little more time. Hold on, the screen's coming. Here comes the screen. Okay. So now, say I'm you. Oh, it's something in the chat. Sorry. I know we only have 8 minutes. Let me just see. Oh, was it? Oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah, well, whatever you guys say, but that's for you to please do it. Yeah, however you do it, but that's up to you guys. But please do it. All right. Now, say I'm going to do the homework. I'm you, and I'm going to turn in the homework. So I'm on a blank sheet of paper. So I don't even have to put my name really. I mean, it's nice to put my name, but like I write like whatever, homework 1B thing on a spring, right? Now, I'm going to start showing full work and responding fully to these questions. Even the ones that I can do in my head, I'm going to show full work. And I'm going to make the questions clear. I'm not going to copy paste Yaverbaum's questions. I'm not doing this on Yaverbaum's questions. I'm going to make the questions clear in the context of my document. I'm going to create a document that stands on its own that I can give to Yaverbaum, or I could give to anybody who knows physics, even if they're not in this class. I could give it to them and they could follow it and decide whether it's right or wrong or makes sense or not, or they could grade it, even if they weren't in the class or didn't have any other documents to look at. The goal is to create a self-sufficient, like independent piece of physics. How do I do that? I'm going to follow, and here's something I'm bizarrely strict about. I'm going to follow the 5-step problem-solving method that is designed for physics at John Jay. That it's in your tools section of your Google Classroom. Like I'm going to start walking you through it now. Of course, I'm not going to finish now, and we'll pick up on this next week, but you'll see a document under tools in the Google Classroom that says 5-step problem solving method. That 5-step method, which at first will bore, it's not going to be too hard for anybody. It'll be too boring for some people at first, but it's the method of doing all of this work, all of this serious physics. It's how you're going to break down every one of these assignment questions. And it's all practice for this is exactly what we're looking for in the exam. This is going to be how in the exam you show that you know what you're doing and you know why. It's all about not the answers. It's about getting points for every step of a thought process, whether or not the answers are right. So I'm going to, again, I now have 6 minutes, right? But I'm going to tell you what those steps are. I'm going to tell you quickly, but you can look in the sheet. First, you're going to do step 1. And you can label this. You don't have to literally label your steps, but it's a pretty good idea at first when you're practicing this. Step 1 is called DFP, diagram and fact pattern. You're going to literally draw out the diagram of the situation and all the facts of the situation, much like I did on the sheet for you, but some sheets won't do that for you. Some exam problems will give you diagrams, some won't. No matter what, you're going to start off with a diagram of the situation with everything labeled. And the whole purpose of the diagram really is that every label in the diagram defines every letter that's going to be used in all the math and all the equations that you're going to use to solve the problem. So the purpose of the diagram, among all other things, is to define all the terms of the mathematics that you're going to do. So here's my diagram, and then here's my facts, right? Is that like x naught equals 0.15, k equals 200 newtons per meter. Now, again, right now, it basically looks like I'm just basically copying this from the sheet. That's fine, but you do have to hand copy it. You've got to show that you know, oh, great. Thank you, Madonna. Awesome. And again, then you will have to be in this habit because sometimes you won't. Sometimes you won't be given diagrams. So you do this. You provide the diagram and the situation and the facts. That is step 1. Always diagram and fact pattern. Then you go to I know I'm going fast right now. Again, it's partly so I can give you a PDF that you can look at and you can play the video later. So then you go to step 2. Step 2 is WIQ. What is the question? Now, these steps I'm giving you, I'll try to justify for you next time, but whether you like them or not, they are the steps, but they are also the grading rubric. If on the exam, like I'm not just looking for right or wrong answers, of course not, because like they're open exams. I mean, of course you have the right answers. But if you get back an exam and somewhere in the margin it says WIQ -2, what that means is I took off 2 points because you didn't make the question clear. At this stage, you want to do everything in this order, whether you like it or not. Hopefully you'll like it by the end, but so you make it clear, what is the question? Well, here's question 1, and the whole idea is to show what the question is in your own words or in your own way. So question 1, in English, it said something like, at when the spring is initially, when the mass is initially held, blah, 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 blah. What is the force? Well, you can distill that down to its essence, and you can just say at x equals x naught, F equals, like that was the first question, right? Distilled down to its essence, but that's every piece of information in the first question. So you've now done step 2. You've made the question clear. Here's the fact of the situation. Here's the question. Now you go to step 3. And again, I apologize if this is fast and if this is annoying, but this is the format. This is what I'm looking for you to do with all of the questions on homework 1B for next week. By the time you get to the end, maybe you won't be able to get every question right. It's okay, but if you do this whole process, it won't even matter if you don't have the answers right. You're getting points for all these steps of the process. Step 3 is GDP. And also, if I don't finish this, since we're about to run out of time, please know again, these steps are in a document under tools called 5-step method. So your goal for the first homework is to try to follow this procedure to do the homework. I'll also warn you right now, since we're about to run out of time, with the diagram, I'm not saying you have to redraw the diagram for every single question. All of the questions apply to that same diagram. So when you get to question 2, you can literally write for diagram C above. You can do that, but you have to address every one of these needs each time. Step 3 is GDP, which means general principles and definitions. This is where you write down what you know, but not what you know as far as the facts of the problem. You've already done that in step 1. You're writing down now something that's known in the universe, that's known in general, that is a definition or a law or a principle that will be useful in this problem. So in this case, what you would write down for step 3, and often there'll be more than one thing you'd write down, but in this case, you would write down F equals KX, Hooke's law for a spring. That's the GDP for this one. Okay, I know we're almost out of time. So now you've done 3 steps. You haven't even done any physics yet. You're just establishing this, but you've already done 60% of what you need to do. Bear with me. I know the class is over one. Let me, bear with me. I might go like 1 minute over time, and then I'll give you back the time last. Or if you have to go, just go. But let me just finish this quick. And I'll also say, as soon as it's 5:45, or as soon as you need to go, you can go. But no matter what, I will always stay until the last person leaves. So if you have a question or something's unclear, I won't go until I address whatever you need addressed. So if you need to go now, I understand, and you can watch the rest of the video or whatever. But I'm just going to finish this quick. I won't be insulted, but I got to finish this. I want to finish this quickly for anybody who can stay and for the purpose of the video and the PDF. So I'll just take like 2 more minutes. But bye if you have to go. Bye. It's very nice to meet you. Okay. So that's GDP. So now we go to step 4. Step 4 is PAW, particular application and work. This is where you do the thing that most people consider the work. This is where you now plug and you plug in your values, and you do all the algebra manipulations to actually apply the general truth to the particular situation. So generally, we know we've transitioned to step 4 when we generally use a word like here K equals 200 and X equals 0.15, 200 newtons per meter, X equals 0.15 meters. So I would say like here, so here, I know I'm going fast and I can turn back in a second if you want. F equals negative 200 newtons per meter times 0.15 meters, right? And of course, some of you did this in your head, I know, but I'm asking you to drag this out anyway. And then finally, you notice you're tracking units, you're using scientific notation if applicable. And then finally, we get to the very last step, step 5, FAC, final answer circled. So now we come full circle. Remember, the original question was at X equals X naught. What is F? Well, it looks like at X equals X naught, F equals negative 30 newtons. That is my answer. That's a complete thought, right? It's an equation. At this condition, F, the force, equals negative 30 newtons. That's my answer to my original question. Anybody who reads this whole thought process could see if it's right or wrong. They don't need to know any other document or anything. This is standalone physics. It could be published if it were actually new and interesting information. It's just we've done a million times, so no one would publish it. That's what I'm asking you to do for all the subsequent questions or for any homework or exam we ever do. Obviously, I've just started you off now. Try your best. You'll, even if you get things wrong, we'll be able to revise it. That's a class. I'm going to hang out for any questions, but thank you guys so much. It's great to meet you. I'm very glad we've had this time. And I'm going to turn off the recording too, but very good to meet you all. If that's clear, have a nice night. If it's not, hang out for a second. Okay, I'm stopping the